Oh, man. We're ready. We are ready on this Wednesday, the 16th day of September 2020. Mark Davis in for Larry just today. He's back tomorrow. And boy, do we have stuff to cover today. Just within the last hour and a half or so, Joe Biden appeared answering questions before a media gaggle, completing sentences in the English language. So we actually get to pay attention to what the content was. Then in just the last hour, President Trump had some things to say about obviously coronavirus issues and law enforcement issues and campaign issues, et cetera, et cetera. We will cover all of that. I've had an adventure. For those that if we haven't met, Mark Davis, hi, welcome. I'm the Happy Morning host here at 660 a.m. The Answer in Dallas, Fort Worth. Hope all is well. Hop over to LarryElder.com. You can see our plush but not overly ostentatious studios. You can watch the show, listen to the show, everything you usually do at LarryElder.com. You can hop onto Twitter, follow me, and shoot stuff at me, and I'll engage sometimes when I can during the show or thereafter at Mark Davis on Twitter. That's all the plugs. There you go. Let's dive in. On this Happy Morning show that I do here in DFW, I engaged in a little project that I may bring to the national audience here on the Larry Elder Show. I better do it now since I'm mentioning it. And that is next hour. I'll do this. Let's talk. Let's get all of our breaking news, stuff going on in the news, things you want to get off your chest, on your mind. Share it with me at 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. I did something wild and revolutionary. I watched the Cuties movie on Netflix. I heard all these people say it's porn. These people should rot in hell for even making this movie. And then defenders showed up, not just to defend the film as a cautionary tale of how bad things can get for girls in this sleazy internet culture, but then they started to attack the people who had concerns, saying that they were, rubes and overly restrictive, blah, blah, blah. Well, into the middle of this, I said, there's no way that I can weigh in unless I actually see the thing. So I did, and I'll share the products of that homework starting in the next hour and see what you guys think, because a whole lot of you are saying things about it without having seen it. Now, there's one position you can hold where you don't have to see it, and that is that knowing the subject matter that it involves, if you believe that just shouldn't be on a screen portrayed in any way by anybody, then you don't have to see it. And you're thoroughly intellectually honest in that regard. The reason I did is because I wanted my analysis to go deeper than that. I wanted to see if the people who were defending it had a point. They do. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily a point that I fully accept, but it's one they can make. So I'll wander into the Cuties jungle and really try to, good luck with this, and especially in this day and age, sort of call a truce in the Cuties wars, because everybody is saying a lot of things, and they're all saying things that they have a thorough right to say. The people who say that it's terrible, you can't have actresses do that. That's just bad. That's exploitation in and of itself. And you can make these points without showing it with, lingering footage of, whatever. That's a thoroughly worthy point. But if the filmmaker herself and others who have seen the film say, well, I came away scared to death of my own kid's neighborhood, because this isn't just happening in the low rent sections of Paris. It's happening in suburban America. It's happening in urban America. It's happening everywhere. Our daughters, and my daughter's 29, but I got a 17-year-old son. And when my daughter was a teenager, 03, 04, 05, 06, et cetera, it was my job to protect her from the world. And job one of protecting somebody from the world is to know what's out there in this fallen world. And the film is a snapshot of a fallen world and not a glorification of it. However, if somebody says, you know what, I think somebody wrote a column, I can't remember what it was, that said, let's stipulate that drowning puppies is bad, and to show you how bad it is, let's show some people drowning puppies. And that's kind of a point, because you don't really have to do that. But the problem is that puppy drowning is not working its way through every neighborhood in America, and an over-sexualized internet culture is. So tell you, I know I kind of half did it right there, but we'll get into that in some more detail in our next hour. So what are we going to do this hour? What do you want to do? Let's take a look at breaking news, at things going on in the news right now. Before we do, as I do on my normal morning job here at 660 a.m. The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth, before we engage, before we start slinging all kinds of hot topics, if you wish to do so, join me in a moment of prayer as we ask God today for wisdom and goodwill. Lord, give us the wisdom to navigate our problems, from COVID-19 to social strife, to fill us with the energy to be smart and safe as we reclaim our lives in this virus era. Almighty God, let us lift up those whose lives and livelihoods have been sidelined by shutdowns and restrictions. Help us find smart solutions to all of our social ills, even as troublemakers seek to divide us. Amid those divisions, let us treat each other with respect and patience as we work together on that list of things that absolutely should be changed in society, but to resist those who along the way would opportunistically sweep away vast portions of our history and our culture. Remind us, Lord, that in the most challenging of times, you are there to unite us to follow your guidance and to treat each other as we would like to be treated. If we follow you, Lord, we know we can get through anything. And we ask these things in your holy name. Amen. All right. President Trump holds news conferences all the time. Joe Biden taking questions from reporters and sort of riffing on the fly. That doesn't happen hardly at all. So let me share a moment of that, because the first thing I noticed in watching former Vice President and current presidential candidate Joe Biden is this guy is down talking the vaccine. President Trump's comments were all about, here comes a vaccine, here it comes. The process has been moved a lot faster than it otherwise would have been. We're really, ramping things up, getting it done. It's a can-do spirit around here, and doggone it, we're going to get a vaccine. And the Democrat Party knows, and Joe Biden knows, and the left knows, and the media know that if a vaccine comes out and it works, and people start feeling better about their world and better about their lives and better about this whole COVID-19 path that we're on, and seeing light at the end of the tunnel, if there is hope, if there is optimism, if there is good feeling, that is dreadful news for the Democrat Party. That is a horrible development for the Biden campaign. So here was Joe a little over an hour ago.
I'm more hopeful than ever in the power of science to get us there. But one thing is certain: we can't allow politics to interfere with the vaccine in any way.
Who says it is? I mean, how is politics interfering with the vaccine? About the only way I can think that politics would interfere with the vaccine is if an entire political party that doesn't want it to come out right now, that would rather have, some more death toll between now and November 3rd than hopeful developments that might reduce the COVID-19 toll. That's sort of the only evidence of politics jacking with the vaccine process that I can see, Joe.
Americans have had to endure President Trump's incompetence and dishonesty when it comes to testing and personal protective equipment. Yeah. We can't afford to repeat those fiascos when it comes to a vaccine, when it occurs. The stakes are too high. American families have already suffered and sacrificed too much.
And what exact magic wand would he have retroactively? I mean, if we could hop into the time tunnel and say, Joe, boom, you're president, fix this. What in the world would he have done that would have been so different? Now, it's funny because there is an actual answer to that. He talks about certain federal guidelines that would have come out in a minute. We're going to break here in a second. I'll come back and play you the rest of this, just this little stretch of Joe, in which he talks about reopening and talks about different parts of the country reopening in different ways, because our country is quite the tapestry of different sorts of communities and such. And then he hammers the president for not having some coordinated one-size-fits-all federal response. Which is it? Which is it, Mr. Biden? I will tell you this, and I'm sticking with it. There will be debates. Joe will do those debates, and he will not collapse in a sobbing heap. He'll do okay, I think. The adrenaline will help him through. But that means we get to focus on content, kind of like we're doing now. Mark Davis in for Larry, right back.
The manufacturing industry has been eroding for decades by those seeking to circumvent America's strong labor and environmental laws. Do you support manufacturing in the USA? Do you believe in earned privilege? Check out mfggear.com. This clothing line was designed to create awareness for an industry that once flourished and made America strong. Join the Manufacture Local movement and support the mission to bring manufacturing jobs back home. Visit mfggear.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The attack in L.A. County, those two police officers, one a 31-year-old mother of six. Somebody tried to paint this as random violence, a local council member. Stephanie, walking up to a police car and shooting two police officers in the head isn't random or accidental, is it?
This is not random. We can thank the Democrats for stoking this violence and hatred against police officers. They've been doing this for years. We've seen it escalate as of recently, thanks to this defund police movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. This video was really shocking. It made me want to cry to see somebody pull out a gun and just shoot these two police officers point blank. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's a lot of silence from the left on this. And then the ones who are speaking out, like Joe Biden, they're calling for gun control. What gun control measure would have stopped this criminal from shooting police officers?
Because if there were tougher gun laws in California, I'm sure he wouldn't have shot those two police officers in the head. Right, Steph?
Correct, because the gun laws aren't already some of the strictest in the nation, of course. So Biden is just so out of touch. If you're going to speak on an issue like this, at least say something intelligent, have some compassion for the police officers who were shot. And what really bothered me, aside from all of this, is did you see this video that was going viral of a man who was live streaming the aftermath of the shooting? He had his cell phone out, and I don't know if these were his friends or there were other guys just in the background. They're laughing about what happened.
They're celebrating that two police officers, quote unquote, got aired out.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I have not. I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it, when she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, it's not an inaccurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and
It's the Larry Elder Show for this Wednesday, 16th of September. Mark Davis filling in, and have I got a movie for you? Oh my gosh, it is One Nation Under God. It is rare that a family can find an inspiring film reinforcing biblical values. One Nation Under God is that film, and we are so stoked to be offering up uplifting, wonderful films at salemnow.com, salemnow.com. It's the story, One Nation Under God, of a gentleman named David Gutierrez, coming from a single mom home as a scholarship to a prestigious high school, but then learns that the principal has prohibited any mention of God in the school. Weeks later, an up-and-coming politician, a senator and presidential candidate, comes to speak at the school, and David gets to ask the senator a question. That question is, if our founding fathers placed God at the center of our nation, shouldn't God be a part of schools and government today? And the senator is totally bamboozled by this. His answer sets off a frenzy of national press coverage, and the drama thus unfolds. One Nation Under God. Check it out at salemnow.com. Use the promo code Larry for a 20% discount. One Nation Under God at salemnow.com. Promo code Larry. All right, so the Democrat plan is clearly to talk down the vaccine progress because, and this, I'm sorry, there's politics and there's just things that are sinister. And there is only one human way to feel about the dawn of a possible vaccine, and that is with optimism and hope and encouragement for those who are about to bring it to us. To cast seeds of doubt, to talk it down, to speak ill of it, to suggest that President Trump is somehow, hovering over the vaccine process with a whip and get it done. I need it now. I don't care if it's safe. Bring it out now. And that is precisely what Joe Biden wants you to believe. More Biden audio in a second, but let's grab some calls. 888-971-SAGE. We are in Louisville. James, hi. Mark Davis in for Larry. How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
How you doing, Mark?
Super, thank you.
I actually was in the... Mark?
I'm right here.
Okay. Yeah, I was recently in Dallas-Fort Worth back in January and February before y'all's primaries. Did some political work and canvassing for a young Latino on the north side of downtown Dallas, and then went out west side of Fort Worth with Kay Granger. Worked on her campaign a little bit.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So, anyway, I called in tonight. I'm trying to get something started I think that is really going to save lives.
Yeah.
Even though I was an engineer, I've kind of dealt with those marketing boys and girls, and they're all about campaigns and marketing jingles.
Mm-hmm.
And so a good jingle like the Campbell's soup and, all the famous history, they tend to have a little bounce to it and have a little rhyme to it.
Yes.
So I think this one could trend on Twitter, and I have it hashtag comply, don't die, and you capitalize all three words. So you got two syllables in the first part, two syllables in the second. It rhymes.
Well,
very simple. We need to teach it to our middle school kids. When the cops go to teach classes, comply, right. Don't die.
It is snappy. The idea being that, and just to make sure that I understand it fully, that if you comply with the lawful orders of a police officer, you won't be shot.
There you go.
Yes. However, you boiled it down. I'd say, and let me, A, thank you, and B, my heart breaks as I see these parents. And it's funny, they might be driven by their own bitter politics, or they might be genuinely, if you pay attention to the media and the culture, and you don't really pay attention to a lot of facts, you may well be drawn into believing that if you are a black parent sending your black kid out into the streets of America, that there's a target on his back and waves of marauding racist cops are just looking for a chance to take him down. So anyone saying that is either grotesquely misinformed or has a bitter and horrible agenda. But it breaks but the victim in all of this is the children, is a kid being told that outside his or her door is an evil, racist nation filled with evil, racist cops that want to kill him. That, by the way, is why I've had it up to my eyeballs, not just with the rioting and the looting, we all feel that way, but all of the activism, all of this stuff that we got to sit through before they can even kick a ball and start a football game. And I don't even mean in the kneeling. Of course, you know where I am on the kneeling. Never, ever, no. One knee goes down, my TV goes off. Period. Did it to my own Dallas Cowboys this past Sunday. One knee. Dontari Poe, defensive tackle. His knee went down, remote in my hand, click, goodbye. But even all the supposedly well-meaning stuff, the Black Lives Matter slogans, the T-shirts, the victims on the helmets and the slogans on the jerseys and the stuff in the end zone and blah, blah, blah. I've had it. Not because I don't want real justice and real reform. Of course I do. But because all of this street theater actually precludes real progress. We're not going to have real progress on policing. We're not going to have real progress on the reforms that we need until all these theatrics, all this pandering stops. And then we got to get down to the far less sexy and far more demanding heavy lifting of getting together in an atmosphere of cooperation and goodwill, both of which are nowhere to be found amid all of this rancor and bad feeling, which is being brought about intentionally by the activists, some of them athletes, some of them not, who just want to fill the country with the bad blood and the rancor that they feel in their hearts. And it's a huge problem. A huge problem. And as far as the messaging that ought to go to a kid, listen, I have no trouble with any parent saying, look, when you get out there, it's important for you to not act the fool around the police. First of all, don't put yourself in a position where you're likely to run into the police. How about that? Don't hang with the people who get visited by the police. Don't engage in behaviors that attract the attention of the police. How about that? Keep the cops out of your life, and the likelihood of an unfortunate interface is far, far less. But if something happens and if something starts to go south, I'll take the gentleman's suggestion. Comply. Don't die. Even if things are getting kind of ramped up. And listen, is there the occasional bad cop? The guy who occasionally has a chip on his shoulder, has something going on, maybe shouldn't have been a cop in the first place? Yep, but guess what? Live to tell the tale another day. Live to file the complaint. Don't go run. Interactions with police, death tolls, working on all of that. Mark Davis in for Larry. Grab a line, 888-971-SAGE. Follow me on Twitter, at Mark Davis, M-A-R-K Davis. Appreciate all y'all. Glad you are here on a Wednesday. We got a lot going on, more calls to take, more stuff to hear from both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Busy day, lots going on. Glad to be with you. Mark Davis in for Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Did you hear what Fauci said to MSNBC over the weekend? Listen to this.
And I said what I've been saying all along, that I believe that we will have a vaccine that will be available by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But by the time you mobilize the distribution of the vaccinations and you get the majority or more of the population vaccinated and protected, that's likely not going to happen till the mid or end of 2021. So in direct response to that person's question, I said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality, which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going to be well into 2021, maybe even towards the end of 2021.
Wow. Now, I debated internally whether to play that clip or not, because I know how despondent, how depressed, how much despair Fauci is engendering with that comment. I thought about a buddy of mine last night who refused to watch the Dallas Cowboys play football. And I admit I watched some NFL yesterday because I, like you, want some sliver of normal. It's not normal to see players take a knee during the national anthem. And for me, a personal decision was I'm not going to let them prevent me from having a little bit of entertainment in that venue. Friend of mine, Mark Davis in Dallas, one knee, I'm out. He's a big Cowboys fan.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
And people know you from every now and again. I see you on these TV commercials. Are you still doing those?
Absolutely.
You crack me up. But we both involved in a film called Trump 2024. It's really a documentary, and there's all kinds of people involved in it. I should say to folks, if you go to salemnow.com and use the code Eric, you get a discount, salemnow.com. But why did you get involved in this documentary, Mike Lindell, Trump 2024?
Well, when I first met him, I met him in the summer of 2016 in a private half-hour meeting. He invited me out to talk with him about, My Pillow being made in the USA. But all these things he talked about, I'm going, there are a couple of things people need to know about our president. The gift he has of being so pragmatic and problem solution like a businessman, but knowing what it's going to manifest to. What is it, just because you solve the problem and have the solution, you better know what's it going to manifest to in our daily lives. And that's a gift that he has. And that's having a businessman run it. He took the Republican Party, and I believe now has turned it into the Common Sense Party. That's not the party it was either. He took politics and just put it all in a thing and smashed it around and said, okay, here's the way we should do things for the people. This is for the people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Have you ever seen a story of corruption that just gives as much as this story, John?
No, and you know what? We don't have half of it yet. That's what's so scary about what we're learning. And I think we ought to bring everybody back to the beginning of impeachment, because it's also worth calling out the false narrative.
Or a reasonable facsimile thereof. Mark Davis filling in at 6:60 a.m. The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. But I will tell you what, I will, with every bit of the vigor that Larry would, share with you the joy of My Pillow and how it changes your sleep. Check out the new mattress topper. It's amazing. And the big debate these days is what's better, the actual pillows at My Pillow or the mattress topper. And the good news is no need to fight. It's not a binary choice. Get them both. Get that mattress topper, get those pillows, get some of the best sleep of your life. 10-year warranty, a cover that's washable and dryable, made in the USA, of course, because it's Mike Lindell, and it's backed with Mike's 60-day money-back guarantee. Now, the deal's such a deal. MyPillow.com, save 30%, use the promo code Larry, or 1-800-890-1843. 1-800-890-1843. Promo code Larry. When you do, Mike gives you 2 standard My Pillows free. Look at that. MyPillow.com, promo code Larry, or 1-800-890-1843. Alrighty, waves of calls are crashing against the shore, and probably imagery I should not use, as huge waves have been crashing against the shore of Florida and Alabama. Big thoughts and good thoughts and prayers for everybody in the path. It hasn't so much been a wind damage thing, but a flooding thing in Alabama and Florida. That's a stretch that I've got a lot of familiarity with and a lot of family connections to. My mom grew up in Panama City, Florida, well east of there, but right there where Pensacola meets Mobile and all of that. That's where it is. So everybody with folks, friends, family, and listening down there, we are thinking of you, and we hold you up in prayer. 888-971-SAGE. We are in Sun City, California. Paul, hey, Mark Davis, welcome in for Larry. How you doing?
Hey, awesome. Thank you so much for taking my call.
My pleasure.
All right, I just had a comment. For the longest time, I've been looking at news, reading conservative news, and at the same time, I've been hearing for decades correlation between higher education and anti-Americanism and what's ahead in the future.
Absolutely.
Path. And I don't know what correlation, anybody drawing a connection between higher ed, anti-Americanism versus what's happening on the streets and with the freshman congressmen that are trying to tear down our country.
Well, there's a whole generation that has been indoctrinated by the academia of the modern day that we are a sinister country, that slavery is our original sin, and that we deserve to be spoken ill of because of that in perpetuity. There's actually there's been a lot of commenting about that, especially in the last generation or two. Our colleague Dennis Prager does probably the best and most prolific job of that, and he points out an example that's pretty telling, and that is if you go to Florida, where there are a lot of folks of Cuban extraction, if you find Cubans, folks of Cuban ethnicity and heritage in Florida, the ones that are, let's say, 35 or 40 and older tend to be pretty doggone conservative. Younger than that, substantially less so. What happened to them? What got a hold of them? The American university system. So you bet. If there are people walking around thinking America is bad, America is racist, the founders were terrible, the founders were sinister, the Constitution is worthless, we're not a special country, not only are we not exceptional, we're not even very praiseworthy, a whole lot of that comes right from the colleges and universities in our current system. And is that the back of my hand against every vestige of college? Of course not. Does it mean don't send your kid to college? Of course not. But if you are going to, be careful. Choose very, very, very carefully. Real quick, because Sean told me that we had like a satellite glitch or something like that, where there might have been 30 or 35 seconds of a really high-quality rant that you might have lost. My point was right after the gentleman called and had that comply, don't die hashtag. It really was fairly simple, and that is that rather than for parents of color, and I don't need to tell everybody how to raise your kids unless you're doing something that's child abuse, and I think this is. And that is to tell your kids that if you walk out the door anywhere in America, they're walking out into an evil, racist country filled with evil, racist cops that are just looking for an opportunity to kill you. That's a terrible thing to tell a kid. Do you tell them that, be careful and be, particularly respectful of the police? And if you find something might be kind of going south, that's a particular reason to be even more compliant, more respectful, live to tell the tale, live to fill out the complaint form, don't get shot because you somehow did something stupid? Comply, don't die is actually pretty catchy and pretty wise. What is the height of ill wisdom is taking the occasional moment of bad policing, and we do have those moments, and it would be really great to get past the kneeling and all the swaying back and forth and singing songs and putting stuff on our jerseys and our fields of play. Yeah, great. Now how about some real work in solving some of these problems? How about that? That might not get you as many clicks, might not get you as much adulation, but that's the work that really needs to be done, and it's time that we got down to it. Alrighty, Sean, clock, we got to take a step aside here at the moment. 888-971-SAGE, Mark Davis in for Larry. Okay, I'm totally confused.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
So, how do you explain the hatred?
Well, I think in large part it's because the Democrats have been moved so far to the radical left, and they have somebody standing in the way of pushing that agenda down people's throats. But even more than that, President Trump has challenged every major institution in our country, whether it's the media, Hollywood, the university systems, all of these people who have collectively come together to try to shove that far left agenda down our throats. And the president stood and said, whoa, 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 that's not happening. And he does it with such a fervor and such a fight that he's actually winning. Nobody expected him from those groups to win in 2016, and when he did, they tried to take it away from him. But he did not cower. He kept fighting back and kept fighting back, and we haven't seen somebody like that who's so willing and able to challenge those institutions and fight back in a really long time. And I think it's one of the reasons they don't like him. He also proved he didn't need them. So often, people in politics need the press to get elected. They need the special interest. And Donald Trump said, you know what? I can do this without you. He's gone around them, and it infuriates them that he does it, and he fights back against them, and he does it without needing them at all.
That's a good answer.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Did you hear what Fauci said to MSNBC over the weekend? Listen to this.
And I said what I've been saying all along, that I believe that we will have a vaccine that will be available by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But by the time you mobilize the distribution of the vaccinations and you get the majority or more of the population vaccinated and protected, that's likely not going to happen till the mid or end of 2021. So in direct response to that person's question, I said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality, which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going to be well into 2021, maybe even towards the end of 2021.
Wow. Now, I debated internally whether to play that clip or not, because I know how despondent, how depressed, how much despair Fauci is engendering with that comment. I thought about a buddy of mine last night who refused to watch the Dallas Cowboys play football. And I admit I watched some NFL yesterday because I, like you, want some sliver of normal. It's not normal to see players take a knee during the national anthem. And for me, a personal decision was I'm not going to let them prevent me from having a little bit of entertainment in that venue. Friend of mine, Mark Davis in Dallas, one knee, I'm out. He's a big Cowboys fan.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube.
Welcome back. It's Wednesday. Mark Davis filling in for Larry. Larry will be back tomorrow. And each day gets us closer to the election, November 3rd. Lots of things, lots of people on the ballot, but there are some things that are metaphorically on the ballot. Our freedom is on the ballot, our liberty, our safety, our way of life. It's as if America itself, the country as we know it and as we embrace it, is on the ballot. And that is why all of us here at Salem and a bunch of hosts all over the country are urging you to join an effort sponsored by Job Creators Network. They're working with the biggest conservative shows in America. The election's about one thing: turnout. Turnout. Left has their get out the vote machine. We'd better be there to match it. That's why the single most important thing you can do to save our country and help us out here is obviously you got to vote, but what else can you do to motivate and mobilize other people? Ideas aplenty at keepamericaamerica.com, because that's what we're trying to do. Keepamericaamerica.com. It is the biggest get out the vote effort in conservative history, and you can volunteer today. Do a little, do a lot, your choice, but please do something. Do your part. Go to keepamericaamerica.com now. That is keepamericaamerica.com. All righty, we are in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and Candy, that is you. Mark Davis in for Larry. How you doing? Happy Wednesday.
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good.
I have quite a few things that I'm really perturbed with, just like you are. All of the same things, pretty much. First of all, I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, too. I mean, so much so that my wedding was even Dallas Cowboys themed.
Wow, so, that's a commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. So ever since this whole kneeling thing started, generally during the draft, I'm chomping at the bit for football season to start, talking smack long before it's even preseason, never miss a game, and buy thousands of dollars worth of memorabilia probably every couple of years or so. So, clothes, whatever. But, I'm just, to this point, I can't even watch football. I'm not even going to wait for them to take the knee. I know it's coming. I know this divisive so-called national anthem is coming, and I just can't do it to myself. I kind of feel the same way that I do about the mask thing. I don't really want to go anywhere. I really don't need to go because it's not fun wearing the mask when I can't breathe. I kind of feel the same way about football. It's just not fun. You
have just, there are millions of people right now nodding in approval and agreement. I mean, not everybody. We're not a unanimous country on hardly anything, but you've just spoken for a ton of people, and I thank you. Let's cover both. I don't think these athletes know, or maybe they just don't care, how many people are repelled by this activism. And I don't just mean the kneeling. I mean, if you want to dig a little deeper, they would tell us that all the Black Lives Matter slogans festooned across everything. Let's all get together and sing Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is a wonderful old gospel record. It's great. There's nothing the matter with that song. The Black national anthem part is roundly offensive. There's no such thing as the Black national anthem. There is no white national anthem. We have a national anthem. And what does it do? What is it an opportunity to do? Unify. Wow, how about that? Remember when the civil rights protests and civil rights activism was about unity and bringing people together? Remember those honorable days? Those are gone, crushed beneath the $500 sneakers of the NBA players who want us to feel like a terrible, racist child that needs a finger-wagging scolding from their lofty virtue signaling, and I will have none of it. That's why even the seemingly innocuous parts are problematic, because all of this stuff, let's have a moment of silence for racial equality. It takes all of us, which sounds great. All those are beautiful words. But the reason those words are being trundled out is because there is a political, this has nothing to do with race. It is politics. There is a political movement underway that seeks to gain power, money, attention, and clicks by making you think that we are a racist hellhole, by making you think that America retains just about as much the evil racism as if we're sitting around in the Deep South in 1955. And that's just dishonest. The whole thing is just dishonest. And listen, dishonesty is rampant and epidemic, but, and you could easily say, so what, more dishonesty, but it really is preventing, it is precluding, it is blocking a path toward real progress, real heavy lifting that could be making some of our problems better, because that's going to involve goodwill, hard work, people getting together, and the BLM movement wants absolutely no part of that. We're in Colorado. John, hey, Mark Davison Falleri, how you doing? Hey, John.
Hey, I'm here.
Hi, boy. Just by the hair of my finger hovering over the button, you made it, my man. What you got?
Yes, sir, Mark. I just wanted to comment, further what your last guest just said about masks. I just moved to Colorado to go to Charis Bible College, and the mask thing is crazy. I'm healthy. I stay away from people if I'm sick. Hello, common sense.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, and I talked a lot about this on the local show this morning, and thank you, because that was the lady's other point. I have no idea how good the mask science is, neither do you, and I think a lot of people who are scientists don't. So if right now what everybody's telling us to do is wear the dang thing, Go ahead and wear the dang thing.
You're
Just
right.
do it. Don't be a jerk. Exactly right. We'll all get past this. But I'll tell you what, the recommendations are fine. No mandates, no government mandates for this. No. Mask recommendations are great. Mask mandates are the devil's work. Because if they can tell us to strap stuff on our face, even with noble intent, what won't they be able to do? What can't they tell us to do?
It's called creating chaos.
Correct. And the left loves this, and they want people miserable, and they want schools shut down. They want everybody hacked off, so that they can direct that angst towards saying, we got to have another president, and watch for things to just automatically get better if Joe Biden wins. But guess what? That's not going to happen. Mark Davis and Falleri, right back.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Senator, here's Joe Biden yesterday talking about fracking, cut number 3.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Now, he is for fracking after he was against it, Senator Cotton. I've played a number of montages where he's been against fracking, new fracking, old fracking, fossil fuels. How in the world can people ignore this?
Well, Hugh, let's give Joe the benefit of the doubt, and let's not assume that he's lying. Let's just assume that he forgot when he said that he was going to ban fracking repeatedly during the Democratic primaries.
He did. I mean, he did. Okay, translate this if you can. Cut number 2.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Okay, Senator, what's that mean?
Well, Hugh, that wasn't the smoothest delivery off a pre-written speech on a teleprompter, but I'm not sure I can translate it for you.
All right, then he asked the rhetorical question, cut number 1.
Ask yourself, do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters? Really?
My answer is yes, because on one side you've got Kamala Harris, and on the other side you've got AOC, but what do you say, Senator?
Well, he looks like an empty suit that for 50 years has gone along with whatever fad and fashion is ascendant in the Democratic Party.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
After the whole pregame thing was all about Black Lives Matter and change and making a difference, I would respectfully say that it is asinine to accuse those fans of being racist when they were probably saying, and they were likely saying, enough, play the game. We want to escape from turmoil and violence and rage and protest. We want to watch a football game. And that's why they booed. Let's see what you think, though. 1-800-655-MIKE. We're live streaming as we do every day at MikeOnline.com. We'll take you to New York City and listen in as Vice President Pence and the Second Lady talked about commemorating and prayed over the 9/11 ceremony. We will.
Undeniably true. We can throw out as much reggae as you want. You know, we had a massive loss in the reggae world. You ever heard of Toots and the Maytals? Frederick Toots Hibbert passed away just a couple of days ago, I think on 9/11. Jamaican singer and songwriter. Boy, just get you some toots in the Maytals. Can't do better than that. All righty, 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. We are in Fort Worth. Lynn, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Mark. How are you?
I am great. Nice to have you.
Thank you. I tell you what, you're talking about Black Lives Matter and the NFL, the different protests, but I think what goes to the heart of all of this is that the Democrat Party, but by which I mean the leftist, the Social Democrat Party that's become, is morally bankrupt. And I think that the major way of looking at that is a lifetime ago, it seems, when they tried to impeach President Trump, the Democrats in the House were knocking each other over to get to the microphone and say how much it broke their heart to do this, but they were only
of course,
Trump because George Washington would have wanted it.
Exactly. And and Lynn, thank you. And you know what's funny? Because as she shares those quotes, it seems like it was forever ago. Of course, coronavirus makes everything seem like it was forever ago if it was before March. But they told us that it had to be done. We don't really want to. They were dragged kicking and screaming to the impeachment watering hole because they just had to do it because it's just constitutionally required to look the other way as these horrible acts of malfeasance went unaddressed. Oh, it would have been an offense to the founders. Whatever. But here's the funny thing. This was supposed to be an election that was about impeachment. This was supposed to be an election that was going to be about the ripple effects of the Mueller probe. It's difficult to even remember the Mueller probe. It's difficult to even remember impeachment. These were matters of such little consequence. So what will the election be about? Every election's about a lot of things, but it's funny. James Carville famously said back in 1992, it's the economy, stupid. It's the economy. And it will be again. But it will also, I believe, be about law and order. Among the things we're going to examine as we move through our next 2 hours is some comments President had just a couple of hours ago. Stick it up for law enforcement. I think that's a winning look. And I think that the Democrat Party's failure to speak out against some of the chaos and some of the lawlessness is going to have a deleterious effect on the 3rd of November. Mark Davison for Larry, 1 hour down, 2 to go. Come join us, 888-971-SAGE. Glad you're here.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
A 35-year-old Henderson County, North Carolina sheriff's deputy named Ryan Hendricks was fatally shot by a suspect. The Henderson County Sheriff's Department issued a press release saying, quote, early this morning while the world slept, Ryan responded to assist a family needing help when they became innocent victims of a violent encounter. We all know the tragic outcome, but Ryan refuses to let the story end there. Even in passing, Ryan was also an organ donor. He will continue to help strangers for a lifetime, even after making the ultimate sacrifice. Ryan's family wants everyone to know that Ryan was doing the job he was born to do, and he died doing the job he loved. He was a Marine, served his country in the United States Marine Corps. Served his country as a Henderson County sheriff's deputy. 2 little children. Was about to get married. Deputy Ryan Hendricks. Now, I get we should say Breonna Taylor's name. I get we should say George Floyd's name. I want to say George Floyd's name. I want to say the names of those who died. Am I some kind of a horrific, bigoted monster for saying that we should say Ryan Hendricks' name? Say his name. Say the name of law enforcement that are trying to help a community and they're being ambushed.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is America in the 2020 year of our Lord. Anti-police protesters appeared. And people celebrated that attack, saying things like, yelling things like, "We hope they die." This in a year when more than 30 officers have been killed in the line of duty in the United States. To which, and this is pathetic, I don't care who you are, but for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to tweet out early Sunday the following. #Compton. Oh, and then they put it in capital letters. How brave of them. "Do not block emergency entries and exits to the hospital." You're the Sheriff's Department. You've got demonstrators saying, "Hope they die," outside the hospital, and you tweet at them not to block the entrances and exits. Every single person blocking that hospital should be in chains, should be in cuffs, should be in leg irons in the local jail. But you're tweeting at them? What do you think you're doing? You're a sworn peace officer. Do your damn job.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Now, Senator Cotton, yesterday in Pittsburgh, diners were assaulted again. The president tweeted about it this morning. That makes Rochester, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., of course, the unrest in Kenosha, the unrest in Portland. How long is this going to go on, and what is its impact on the election, in your opinion?
Well, Hugh, unfortunately, it's probably going to go on as long as these Democratic mayors and governors do not use the police in force, and if necessary against the riots at nighttime, the National Guard, to deter this criminal behavior. And if the police are not allowed to arrest these criminals and prosecutors do not charge them with every crime they've committed until these criminals on the streets recognize there are consequences for their actions, they're going to continue to commit these crimes. And we don't have to imagine what the Biden administration would do under such circumstances. They're not going to call for local police departments to be allowed to do their job, or they're not going to encourage governors to use the National Guard against rioters. They're going to spend their time harassing and even prosecuting police departments, because that's exactly what we saw in the Obama-Biden Department of Justice. They consistently blamed the police first. They required police to sign onerous consent decrees in federal court to limit policing tactics, and crime invariably went up in cities where the police were handcuffed by the Obama-Biden DOJ, to say nothing of their Democratic mayors. It's just one more reason why it's so important that we reelect the president. Only
Let me ask
Donald
you,
Trump will stand up for law-abiding citizens and law enforcement. Joe Biden will stand with these mobs.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
So, how do you explain the hatred?
Well, I think in large part it's because the Democrats have been moved so far to the radical left, and they have somebody standing in the way of pushing that agenda down people's throats. But even more than that, President Trump has challenged every major institution in our country, whether it's the media, Hollywood, the university systems, all of these people who have collectively come together to try to shove that far left agenda down our throats. And the president stood and said, whoa, that's not happening. And he does it with such a fervor and such a fight that he's actually winning. Nobody expected him from those groups to win in 2016, and when he did, they tried to take it away from him. But he did not cower. He kept fighting back and kept fighting back, and we haven't seen somebody like that who's so willing and able to challenge those institutions and fight back in a really long time. And I think it's one of the reasons they don't like him. He also proved he didn't need them. So often, people in politics need the press to get elected. They need the special interest. And Donald Trump said, you know what? I can do this without you. He's gone around them, and it infuriates them that he does it, and he fights back against them, and he does it without needing them at all.
That's a good answer.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Did you hear what Fauci said to MSNBC over the weekend? Listen to this.
And I said what I've been saying all along, that I believe that we will have a vaccine that will be available by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But by the time you mobilize the distribution of the vaccinations and you get the majority or more of the population vaccinated and protected, that's likely not going to happen till the mid or end of 2021. So in direct response to that person's question, I said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality, which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going
ABC
to be well
town hall
into
filled with, do the air quotes with me now, undecided voters. Oh, I think many of those voters had decided a long time ago. They hate him. But there he was, and he took those questions anyway. We'll talk about how that went. And the president had some comments today, as did Joe Biden, actually completing sentences in the English language while being asked questions on the fly by reporters. So, wow. So there's audio of that, and we'll talk about that. All kinds of things going on. You know, here comes week 2 of the NFL here in Dallas Cowboys land. We are filled with anticipation to see if Jerry Jones can get some control over what we like to call, or what he likes to call, or what the Cowboys like to call themselves, America's team. We're about to find out if any player on America's team will kneel on home turf within just a few yards of that proud star in the middle of that field. Will another knee hit the turf? We had one player, defensive tackle Dontari Poe, took a knee out there with the opener out there at the Rams, as about a dozen of the Rams took a knee. And that one Cowboy knee hitting the turf was all I needed to grab the remote, hit the off button, freed up the rest of my evening. So we'll see how much time. I would love to be able to watch the Cowboys. It's going to be a fun year. See what's going on, but not going to do it. I will not watch athletes who dishonor my country. I won't do it. I will not do it. And my solution here is, and some of this has been played out a lot. Maybe the reason we don't have as much kneeling, or didn't have huge festivals of entire teams dropping to one knee, is because they had so many other things that they rolled out. Let's sing this song. Let's put this in the end zone. Let's put that on the end zone. Let's wear this on our helmets. Let's have a secret handshake. Whatever you want to do. And they maybe that sort of got their social justice warrior yayas out. And thus it's like, okay, all right, if they're going to let us do all of this, maybe we can stand for the anthem. And I just, whatever it takes to leave the anthem unfettered, that's what I want. So we got some of that going on as well. But as advertised, as promised, gather around, kids. I'm going to solve the Cuties wars, or I'm going to try. What you need in the middle of this skirmish between people who say that the movie is the devil's work, should never have been made, everybody internet obsessed world is, and as such you have to actually portray some of what you're talking about. Is that a plausible point? Well, yes it is, as it turns out, because in a little film festival day before yesterday, my wife and I sat down and watched it. Now, I usually hold the view that you need to watch something in order to know what you're talking about. And by and large, that's true. And it's true here if one seeks to judge it as art, if one seeks to talk about whether it has any plausible societal value, you got to see it to know those questions. But if your point of view is that even if it's a defensible, even noble goal to portray how hazardous and filled with dangers and unfortunate developments that are contained in this world of hypersexualization of pre-adolescent girls, so that if you, and apparently another goofy technical glitch there, pardon me, so if you couldn't hear me for a minute, I apologize. So let me back up about 30 seconds. If your point is that this movie never should have been made, because even if on a plausible, noble goal to have a cautionary tale of how horrible it is for young girls in this internet-crazed, sex-crazed world, fine, but you shouldn't have actresses doing these things. These are images that should not be on any screen. If that is your view, you don't have to watch the movie in order to hold that view. You don't have to. If that's your view, you know that. I'm telling you, because I saw it, and those images are there. It's not long. It's not half the movie or anything like that. It's fairly fleeting and subsumed within the story of this young girl named Ami, played by this wonderful actress named Fatia Yusuf. And the director, a woman named Maimouna Doucouré, is like the main character of Senegalese French descent. And that's her point, is look what can happen when girls fall victim, yes, victim to this fallen world. There are consequences on top of consequences for this young lady. Consequences in her family, a very restrictive Muslim family that is not thrilled at how this plays out. Consequences among her friends, these freewheeling, free spirit friends of hers who are way too provocative in their dress and actions. Even they start to rein her in when she takes it too far. And pardon the spoilers, I've got to tell you what's in the thing so you can know what you're talking about. At the dance contest at the end, they were so excited to get in, where their performance is way over the top in terms of suggestiveness, where even the audience it goes south on them and goes, well, what are you doing? One mother even covers her child's eyes. And then at the end of the film, Ami locks down, has this epiphany of guilt, sees that her life and her interests are spinning out of control. She runs from the stage back to her home, makes peace with her family, and as the credits roll, she's in the front of her house, jumping rope like a 12-year-old girl ought to be. Now, is that a noble, praiseworthy plot line? Yes, it is. So do the defenders of this film have a point? Yes, they do. But if someone walks into the arena of public debate about this movie and says, I don't care, in order to make this lofty, praiseworthy point, you had to have actresses, I think 3 of them are 14, one of them's about 12, do these things and dance this way and act this provocatively and engage and immerse in this subject matter. And that's there's some who feel that is in a way exploitative. Well, that's a point that can be made. Was Brooke Shields exploited in 1978 for being a 12-year-old prostitute in Pretty Baby? I guess so. This ain't new. So I guess my point here is that this is also not a binary choice. I mean, if your position is you don't want to hear about whatever redeeming value this film might have had or whatever noble point it might have wanted to make, your point is just doggone it, don't show girls doing this. Just don't. And it shouldn't have been made, and I hate Netflix for airing it, and I hate that is a totally principled view. It is a completely principled view. Now, I'll tell you, there are folks who are going a little beyond that, saying the movie itself constitutes porn. That's a bit of a stretch. The definition of pornography is content whose intent is to sexually titillate. It's like, that's why the thing was made. And that's certainly not the case here. Now, if a big honking pedophile sits down for a screening of Cuties, are there going to be moments that he enjoys in some very wrong ways? Guarantee you there will be. But do we run art? Do we conduct life, shutting a door on anything or everything that might have a certain reaction among people who are depraved? I'd suggest that we don't. But So just to kind of tie a bow around this, and then we'll go to other things, or you can weigh in on this if you wish. 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-SAGE. The folks who are saying that the film's point is valid, that in fact, it is nothing is glorified. That initial poster that shows them all dolled up and stuff like that, terrible poster. In a scene that doesn't even really happen. Because I'll tell you, you watch this movie and you just go, ooh, and it's pretty danged uncomfortable to watch. You go, these girls are out of control. And there are consequences for this. And the girl comes to her senses and gets out of that habit and gets out of those practices and becomes a kid again. And so the defenders have a point. But if someone wants to say, hey, great, enjoy yourselves, defenders, but this movie should not have been made because of what it makes young actresses do and the images that must be portrayed to tell the tale, that is also a principled view. So why don't these two groups that I've described stop beating each other up? Because everybody has a right to the point that they are making. Mark Davis in for Larry. 888-971-SAGE. It's Wednesday. Glad you're here. It's a multi-topic day. Glad to be a part of it.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is America in the 2020 year of our Lord. Anti-police protesters appeared. And people celebrated that attack, saying things like, yelling things like, we hope they die. This in a year when more than 30 officers have been killed in the line of duty in the United States. To which, and this is pathetic, I don't care who you are, but for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to tweet out early Sunday the following, #Compton. Oh, and then they put it in capital letters. How brave of them. Do not block emergency entries and exits to the hospital. You're the sheriff's department. You've got demonstrators saying hope they die outside the hospital, and you tweet at them not to block the entrances and exits. Every single person blocking that hospital should be in chains, should be in cuffs, should be in leg irons in the local jail. But you're tweeting at them? What do you think you're doing? You're a sworn peace officer. Do your damn job.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Now, Senator Cotton, yesterday in Pittsburgh, diners were assaulted again. The president tweeted about it this morning. That makes Rochester, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., of course, the unrest in Kenosha, the unrest in Portland. How long is this going to go on, and what is its impact on the election, in your opinion?
Well, Hugh, unfortunately, it's probably going to go on as long as these Democratic mayors and governors do not use the police in force and, if necessary, against the riots at nighttime, the National Guard, to deter this criminal behavior. And if the police are not allowed to arrest these criminals and prosecutors do not charge them with every crime they've committed until these criminals on the streets recognize there are consequences for their actions, they're going to continue to commit these crimes. And we don't have to imagine what the Biden administration would do under such circumstances. They're not going to call for local police departments to be allowed to do their job, or they're not going to encourage governors to use the National Guard against rioters. They're going to spend their time harassing and even prosecuting police departments, because that's exactly what we saw in the Obama-Biden Department of Justice. They consistently blamed the police first. They required police to sign onerous consent decrees in federal court to limit policing tactics, and crime invariably went up in cities where the police were handcuffed by the Obama-Biden DOJ, to say nothing of their Democratic mayors. It's just one more reason why it's so important that we reelect the president. Only
Let me ask
Donald Trump will stand up for law-abiding citizens and law enforcement. Joe Biden will stand with these mobs.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
So, how do you explain the hatred?
Well, I think in large part it's because the Democrats have.
That's where we are. Glad to have you here, Mark Davis. I'm filling in and just happy to be here. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Appreciate it greatly as we spend some time together here on a Wednesday, the 16th day of September. 888-971-SAGE. So, the debates are less than 2 weeks away. How do you think those are going to go? Vaccine might be just a few weeks away. How do you think that's going to go? And I figured amid all these controversies over the Cuties movie, I might as well see it. And if you're just joining us, I think everybody, and maybe it's just me trying to be nice, trying to be accommodating. I don't know. Or maybe just trying to suggest that it's possible in a complex issue to have a wide variety of feelings. If somebody says, wow, having actresses engage in this kind of behavior, even in a cautionary tale about this kind of behavior, is a deal breaker, they shouldn't have done it. Okay, that's not an unprincipled view. But if somebody says, we have here a film that could be of value in illustrating the dangers of this sex-crazed, internet-crazed world and how it can ensnare your kids where you live if you've got a 12-year-old, it's a wake-up call to you. I think it's possible to hold both of those views, probably not at the same time. And let's grab some calls on any one of a number of things. 888-971-SAGE. We are in Ontario, California. Chris, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
How you doing, Mark?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I was just calling. I disagree with kind of how your closing statement was regarding the movie. Me personally, quick history. I grew up, I'm 30 years old now. I grew up on the internet in the hacking scene. I had a porn addiction for a long while that I've been battling. And one of the things you do when you have a porn addiction is you slowly, degenerate. You get into different taboos and I've been on the deep web, the dark web, all that. And it was something that I just came across, which was underage pornography. And I can tell you myself, as a person who that feels it's wrong, knows it's wrong, absolutely, and who it is absolutely bad. It's just not good.
No doubt. And that is in fact the movie's point. I understand your perspective, especially having not walked in your shoes, but understanding what the shoes are like that you're walking in. It gives you a specific sensitivity to it, a specific stigma that gives you a wisdom and a clarity that is really, really of value. And you're probably thinking that if somebody stumbles across this movie just by happenstance and they had the same, pardon my usage here, the same weakness you had, that they might be ensnared similarly. Maybe.
I think most people are probably predisposed to having that weakness eventually.
I think that's crazy. No, I think that's crazy. No, you're telling me that a majority of people are in danger of becoming pedophiles? I don't think so. Or porn addicts? I don't think.
But I'm just
no.
Okay.
Or porn addicts. Right? All right, using that, I tell you what, do we all have, if we allow weakness into our lives, this is actually a pretty valid point you're making. It is a fallen world, and none of us is immune, all right? But I'll tell you what, if that's the case, 500 movies on cable right now could send us down that road to hell. If that's your point, it's a good one. If that's your point, it is a good one. The notion that
it's sort of my point, but we're crossing a threshold where certain things that should be off limits. I mean, really, okay. So society could be pretty bad off. I could be screwed up, whatever.
Right.
But the future is the children, and once and I've been to prison, and in prison, a pedophile comes in, they're done. They're targeted. They're gone. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Even the worst of the worst, that they don't put up with that. It just does not fly. So the fact that this is going on, I mean, this is just crossing the line. You don't mess with kids.
And you're complete. But here, let me try this once, because this is the way the argument would go. That to watch the movie, for me, for my wife, and for me to watch it, it wasn't something I didn't know already, but it just struck me to my core how deeply fallen the world is, what can happen to young girls who allow this to take over their lives, the horrible lack of attention, the sin of omission of parents that don't pay close enough attention, schools that don't pay close enough attention. This is what I came away with. In no way did I come away with the notion of, man, that's a cute 12-year-old girl. No, that's just because that's not my jam. So I understand that, but I guess that in hearing what a defender of it might say, what would your reply to that be?
I can understand if they wanted to bring attention to something like that, but they went way too far with the dance scenes and the twerking and the.
Understand completely. And this is why I seek to make peace, because that defense of the film that I just described totally has merit. This gentleman is of the community that I just kind of described. Says, great, blah, blah, blah. Shouldn't have done it. Don't have 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old actresses doing this. As soon as it's like, okay, we're going to make a movie. It's kind of like an hour-and-a-half ABC after-school special that could never have made network television. It's kind of a 90-minute PSA against this kind of thing. And what we're going to have to do is have a bunch of girls dress provocatively, dance provocatively, and engage in all kinds of dialogue that's wildly inappropriate. Guess what? No! Don't do that! That too is a thoroughly and completely principled view. All righty, we're in Atlanta. Todd, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you, man?
Good.
Just calling about that movie, and I think sometimes we have to look at it not just separately, but in context of the society and the world. I mean, has everybody forgotten about Jeffrey Epstein? Has everybody forgotten about 250,000 British girls that were trafficked in Rotterdam, Telford, Oxford, covered up by the police? Sex tourism in Thailand and other countries.
It is a fallen world, like no doubt about it.
Marching in parades.
It is a fallen world.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, you look at a horror movie from the 80s and it's a comedy now. So to me, this is a way of desensitizing. And the fact that it's coming from Netflix and Hollywood,
I think that,
doesn't make me
Todd, I think that's a wildly uninformed view. If someone thinks that it shouldn't have been made because of what the young actresses needed to do to make it, that's thoroughly principled. The notion that the film was made and has a desensitizing effect is simply false, and that is something that does need to come from actually having seen it. Someone with a brainstem and a sound heart and a sound mind will see this film and go, oh, that was uncomfortable, but that's the world. And it's a cautionary tale and a wake-up call, and it just makes you want to go out and hug your 12-year-old girl and take her cell phone away and throw it in a ditch. It is a stark reminder of the tentacles that are out there to ensnare every teenager. The notion that it was made for the purpose of enticing the depraved is just false on its face. Mark Davison for Larry. Be right back. Oh, you got to get a little more? Oh, pardon me. Well, I tell you what, then in that case, if you follow Larry on social media, he loves him some steak and some wine. That's the American meal. And Larry met some patriots that are bringing the best meat from American farmers to dinner plates all across the USA. The Good Ranchers at GoodRanchers.com. They partner with American farmers all across America to get the best quality meat, ship it free, boom, right to your home. No more inconsistent meat from the grocery. What kind of a crapshoot is that? 100% American born, raised, harvested beef, chicken delivered to your home. T-bones, ribeyes, fillets. Oh my. GoodRanchers.com, promo code Larry, save $30. GoodRanchers.com, promo code Larry.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Senator, here's Joe Biden yesterday talking about fracking, cut number 3.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking. No matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Now he is for fracking after he was against it, Senator Cotton. I've played a number of montages where he's been against fracking, new fracking, old fracking, fossil fuels. How in the world can people ignore this?
Well, Hugh, let's give Joe the benefit of the doubt, and let's not assume that he's lying. Let's just assume that he forgot when he said that he was going to ban fracking repeatedly during the Democratic primaries.
He did. I mean, he did. Okay, translate this if you can. Cut number 2.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Okay, Senator, what's that mean?
Well, Hugh, that wasn't the smoothest delivery off a pre-written speech on a teleprompter, but I'm not sure I can translate it for you.
All right, then he asked the rhetorical question, cut number 1.
Ask yourself, do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters? Really?
My answer is yes, because on one side you've got Kamala Harris, and on the other side you've got AOC, but what do you say, Senator?
Well, he looks like an empty suit that for 50 years has gone along with whatever fad and fashion is ascendant in the Democratic Party.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
After the whole pregame thing was all about Black Lives Matter and change and making a difference, I would respectfully say that it is asinine to accuse those fans of being racist when they were probably saying, and they were likely saying, enough, play the game. We want to escape from turmoil and violence and rage and protest. We want to watch a football game. And that's why they booed. Let's see what you think, though. 1-800-655-MIKE. We're live streaming as we do every day at MikeOnline.com. We'll take you to New York City and listen in as Vice President Pence and the Second Lady talked about commemorating and prayed over the 9/11 ceremony. We will never forget. I was in the Empire State Building that day, and let's get some more slower music in there, Eric, for me. Let's get a little bit of more music that kind of matches the day today. 1-800-655-MIKE. Let's get your reaction to the NFL opener last night. Let's talk a little bit about this important day, 9/11, and I'd love your participation because you know me. I just want to hear from you. Agree, disagree, somewhere in between. We are all ears. One open line. 800-655-MIKE. Press 1 to come on air with us, 2 to leave a voicemail message.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
But you even made commercials for the president recently. Talk about that.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. And what we did, I had an idea. I said, I wanted to bring all these Democrats in that were flipping, okay? Some of them lifelong Democrats, and I didn't want to meet them ahead of time. I wanted to be very organic like my pillow ads are. And I wanted to be the host and ask them, well, why are you flipping?
Do that. Do it now, even when the fill-in guys are here. And I'm Mark Davis, fill-in guy of the moment from 660 a.m. The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Larry will be back tomorrow, and all will be right with the world. Actually, the world will still be pretty messed up, which is good that Larry is back. It's great that Larry is there and all of us here, the Salem Radio Network, and all of us with local shows in our great company, just trying to save a country, man. Just trying to save a country. And we're just inside of 7 weeks to the opportunity to do that. Man, I've got a premise that I'm going to roll out after we finish. We got about 3 or 4 things going right now. I've got a premise I'm going to roll out for in the next few minutes. And don't vapor lock on me because it begins if Biden wins. Okay, I know. He's not going to. That's my plan. But if he does, And you know where it was a tweet from Chris Hayes of MSNBC, who I am usually very fond of ignoring. But Chris Hayes on MSNBC said, I'm telling you all this. If Trump loses, he instantly becomes the front runner for 2024. Now, keep your car on the road for a minute. I'll take 30 seconds. I'll lay it out right now. God help us, Biden wins. All right. What does 2024 then look like? You want to see a 78-year-old candidate with his act together? Show me Donald Trump in 2024. Because if he'll be back, tanned, rested, and ready. And maybe I just need to ask you this. Listen, if I'm going to ask it, let's ask it. Let's go. We got an hour and 25 minutes of show left. If that were the case, I think there are millions of Republicans, millions of conservatives who would say, you know what? After these 4 years, these 4 hellacious years of the Harris, AOC, Pelosi, Schumer, Biden presidency, there's only one guy that can dig us out. And that'll be 78-year-old Donald Trump running freshly in 2024. Now, my main quest is to not get there, to have him serve those 2 consecutive terms, and then have a 2024 race that is about Trump's successor. But it was an interesting thought experiment. Your thoughts are welcome. 888-971-SAGE. Hey, you're going to love MyPillow. Not just pillows, but mattress toppers. Oh, my gosh. Larry loves them. I love them. Love them, love them, love them. The MyPillow mattress topper can help get you some of the best sleep of your life. It comes with a 10-year warranty, a cover that's washable and dryable, made in America, backed with Mike Lindell's 60-day money-back guarantee. MyPillow.com. Save 30%. Use the promo code Larry. Or 1-800-890-1843. 1-800-890-1843. When you do that, Mike gives you 2 standard MyPillows free. Look at there, mypillow.com, promo code Larry, or call 1-800-890-1843. We are in Houston, Seiko. Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you?
Mark, how are you doing? Thank you for
Great,
taking my call.
you. My pleasure.
Hey, listen, I appreciate it, man. Listen, so I'm a father of 4. I have 6 kids, but I'm a father of 4. 2 of my boys are already gone out the house. So I'm speaking as a protective man over my girls. Number one, I didn't watch the movie. Didn't have a desire or nor need to, because I know what goes on regarding that type of industry, because I've seen enough of it by the lives of those who have been decimated by it. And even if I didn't, I mean, what's already been described by that type of movie, I don't see any justification for just me talking, just me, each his own. But as a man and as a Christian and as a father of 4 girls, what was described in that movie, I don't see anything else other than it being child pornography. And the reason why I say it is because it is.
That's a totally, if your standard is don't make movies about this, even if it's to describe the dangers, just don't do it. I don't need those images on a screen. You're 1,000% entitled to that. What you cannot do without seeing it is say things like, it's just child pornography. There's no reason for it to be made. It is.
I guess my question is, why not?
Because you don't know what you're talking about. Because you don't know what you are talking about.
I do.
But you don't. So, I mean, I'm telling you what to stick with. I'm telling you what to stick with, because you're on solid ground. You're on 100% solid ground, saying even if the filmmakers had an intent to shock everybody about the crazy fallen world, you don't want that, then great. But to sit there and suggest that it exists only as an actual pornographic expression itself, it's just factually false.
I didn't say only. I said, based on what was described in the movie, I don't need to see an 11-year-old girl's breast nor her behind.
Nor will you. Nor will you to that extent, which is another reason. And by the way, I'm not telling you to go see it. I'm not, because maybe you shouldn't. But if you want to go spouting off about what the thing is in there, then you got to. You got a choice. Stay with where you are, or see it. Mark Davis, back in a moment.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Then people know you from every now and again, I see you on these TV commercials. Are you still doing those?
Absolutely.
You crack me up. But we both involved in a film called Trump 2024. It's really a documentary, and there's all kinds of people involved in it. I should say to folks, if you go to salemnow.com and use the code Eric, you get a discount, salemnow.com. But why did you get involved in this documentary, Mike Lindell, Trump 2024?
Well, when I first met him, I met him in the summer of 2016 in a private half-hour meeting. He invited me out to talk with him about, my pillow being made in the USA. But all these things he talked about, I'm going, there are a couple of things people need to know about our president. The gift he has of being so pragmatic and problem solution like a businessman, but knowing what it's going to manifest to. What is it, just because you solve the problem and have the solution, you better know what's it going to manifest to in our daily lives. And that's a gift that he has. And that's having a businessman run it. He took the Republican Party, and I believe now has turned it into the Common Sense Party. That's not the party it was either. He took politics and just put it all in a thing and smashed it around and said, okay, here's the way we should do things for the people. This is for the people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Have you ever seen a story of corruption that just gives as much as this story, John?
No, and you know what? We don't have half of it yet. That's what's so scary about what we're learning. And I think we ought to bring everybody back to the beginning of impeachment, because it's also worth calling out the false narrative that Democrats gave during impeachment. Everyone who raised questions about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden was a Russian propagandist, because there was nothing wrong that happened on Hunter Biden's watch when he was at Burisma. Well, guess what? State Department documents we got under a lawsuit this past weekend emphatically show that George Kent, the guy with the bow tie who made himself famous during the impeachment, a senior State Department official,
one of the famous impeachment witnesses with his bow tie.
Absolutely. Right. Yes, he made himself famous with that bow tie. And he wrote a memo delineating that while Hunter Biden was on the board and while Burisma was under corruption investigation by both the British and the Ukrainian authorities, a Burisma representative paid a $7 million bribe to the Ukrainian prosecutor overseeing the case. And the impact of that bribe was the prosecutor then went and shut down an aspect of the case that killed the British court case that was working its way through the British courts. And Kent writes, not only did a prosecutor confirm the bribe occurred, so they got confirmation, he wrote that it wasted a long amount of work by the FBI, which had been helping the Brits make a case against Burisma. So we learned a lot from this memo.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Senator, here's Joe Biden yesterday talking about fracking, cut number 3.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Now, he is for fracking after he was against it, Senator Cotton. I've played a number of montages where he's been against fracking, new fracking, old fracking, fossil fuels. How in the world can people ignore this?
Well, Hugh, let's give Joe the benefit of the doubt, and let's not assume that he's lying. Let's just assume that he forgot when he said that he was going to ban fracking repeatedly during the Democratic primaries.
He did. I mean, he did. Okay, translate this if you can. Cut number 2.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
Needed reminding or didn't know, but it's just an incredible wake-up call to the fallen world that is out there for our teenage girls. It in no way glorifies this kind of over-sexualized dance troupes and putting and posting photos for clicks and anything like that. If anything, it stigmatizes it. And so that's why in our chat with this last gentleman, if his point and if your point is, I don't care about any redeeming intent, you shouldn't have images of girls that age doing that, and period, paragraph, that's it. That is a completely principled view for you to hold. And by the way, you don't have to see the film in order to hold that view. However, if you want to go several miles beyond that and say that the entire thing is just a pornographic exercise itself, there's no argument that can be made for any, redeeming intent, blah, 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 blah. It could be an intent that you reject. It could be an intent that is outweighed by your standard that says, don't make the movie. It involves having actresses engage in behaviors they shouldn't be behaving in as kids. That's a 100% principled view you hold. And you don't have to see the movie to do it. But if you want to go into the content, what it does, what it's about, what it seeks to do, then you got to see it. And if you don't want to see it, then stay with position number one. All righty. We are in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Ronnie, hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
Hey, doing well. How about you, Mark?
Fantastic. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, like I was saying, screener. Well, first off, I was born in 57. So me and you are the same age. My birthday's this weekend.
Hey, way to go. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Okay. I've been following it on Facebook and all the other stuff. So I was like, well, I want to find out what is this. So we watched it, my wife and I.
Ooh.
And what I took away from it was I've got grandkids. I got 13 grandkids, and 2 of them are in dance classes. And it's pretty much the dancing was a little risque, but it was similar to what they do in dance schools. And,
wow. You need to find better dance schools.
Well, yeah, well, okay. I mean, at the competitions, the one we...
No, you really do.
When we
because this is funny, Ronnie, because from watching this film, I mean, and I could have had this conversation without seeing it, but the first thing that occurs to me is if you got grandkids that are in a dance school that has kids doing anything remotely like that, get them the hell out of that dance school.
Right.
It's grotesquely inappropriate. They shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Okay, right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's it.
These kids were being... They really didn't have any leadership in their school.
No.
In their competition,
No, it didn't. As they're walking around this school in Paris, dressed that way and acting that way, didn't you think? Not only where are the parents, but where are the teachers? Where's a school environment that has a dress code, that has some kind of absolutely, Ronnie. Blessings to you, that family, and every single one of those grandkids. And I'll tell you, this is one effect the film will have for you. It'll make you very uncomfortable. That's the point. And what you've got to know is as you watch these girls for just the relatively short stretches of the practices and ultimately the competition at the end, you got to know that this isn't just some work of fiction out of a suburb of Paris. This is happening in Omaha. This is happening in Orlando. This is happening in Spokane. This is happening where you live. The world that ensnares these little girls. The world that lures them to seek clicks by behaving in prematurely sexualized behavior. That world is everywhere. It is out there. And it is your job as a parent to shut it down in your kid's life. Because it didn't happen with these kids. And even though at the ending, the one girl, Ami, has an epiphany and realizes this is wrong what I'm doing, and I just want to go jump rope with the other 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, however it is, that may not happen to your kid. The fallen world is out there. The film is a chronicle of a stretch of developments in a fallen world. And as such, has value that someone can argue for. But again, I better say this every time I talk about this, and I will. If someone's point is, yeah, Mark, blah, 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 I don't care, the task of making this film, in a way, involved exploitation of the young actresses who were, and I know they were willing to. Nobody put a gun to their heads, but it's just wrong. They shouldn't have made it. That is not an unprincipled view at all. My goal, my quest, I hope that's the effect we have here. And I'm probably about done with this because I think everybody's said what they're going to say. And it's been good. I've caught all sides and I love it. Is let's have these specific sides that both stand on some principled turf stop beating on each other. If somebody chose to watch the movie and has an argument to make on its behalf, don't criticize the people who don't want to see it because they just don't believe that imagery should be on a screen ever, even for any stated intent. Don't criticize those people. And conversely, if you've made a decision that you don't want to see it because you just think it's the devil's work, that's 1,000% okay. But I guess I probably would ask of that community that if there's somebody who chose to see it and they took it as a cautionary tale and took it as a wake-up call and a reminder of how fallen the world is, then that's something that shouldn't get your brains bashed in for that either. I'm just trying to make peace in the world. Alrighty, good luck with that, talk show boy. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis. If you're interested in big chunks of me in book form, I got two of them. One is Lone Star America, How Texas Can Save Our Country. That was a little masterpiece of mine back in 2014. Everything in there is still true. If you're fond of Texas, fascinated by Texas, wondering why everybody's moving here, tripping over each other to get here, Lone Star America, Mark Davis. Google that. You'll find it on Amazon. And the other is a little thing called Upside Down, How the Left Turns Right into Wrong, Truth into Lies, and Good into Bad. It's a little case-by-case, point-by-point, handy toolbox of arguing back constructively in an upbeat fashion against the liberals in your life. Upside Down and Lone Star America. Mark Davis. Google it, buy them, enjoy them, and thank you. All righty, Mark Davis and Larry, be right back.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Have you ever seen a story of corruption that just gives as much as this story, John?
No, and you know what? We don't have half of it yet. That's what's so scary about what we're learning. And I think we ought to bring everybody back to the beginning of impeachment because it's also worth calling out the false narrative that Democrats gave during impeachment. Everyone who raised questions about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden was a Russian propagandist because there was nothing wrong that happened on Hunter Biden's watch when he was at Burisma. Well, guess what? State Department documents we got under a lawsuit this past weekend emphatically show that George Kent, the guy with the bow tie who made himself famous during the impeachment, a senior State Department official.
One of the famous impeachment witnesses with his bow tie.
Absolutely. Right. Yes, he made himself famous with that bow tie. And he wrote a memo delineating that while Hunter Biden was on the board and while Burisma was under corruption investigation by both the British and the Ukrainian authorities, a Burisma representative paid a $7 million bribe to the Ukrainian prosecutor overseeing the case. And the impact of that bribe was the prosecutor then went and shut down an aspect of the case that killed the British court case that was working its way through the British courts. And Kent writes, not only did a prosecutor confirm the bribe occurred, so they got confirmation, he wrote that it wasted a long amount of work by the FBI, which had been helping the Brits make a case against Burisma. So we learned a lot from this memo.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Senator, here's Joe Biden yesterday talking about fracking, cut number 3.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Now, he is for fracking after he was against it, Senator Cotton. I've played a number of montages where he's been against fracking, new fracking, old fracking, fossil fuels. How in the world can people ignore this?
Well, Hugh, let's give Joe the benefit of the doubt, and let's not assume that he's lying. Let's just assume that he forgot when he said that he was going to ban fracking repeatedly during the Democratic primaries.
He did. I mean, he did. Okay, translate this if you can. Cut number 2.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Okay, Senator, what's that mean?
Well, Hugh, that wasn't the smoothest delivery of a pre-written speech on a teleprompter, but I'm not sure I can translate it for you.
That's where we are, and they are mobile studios, Texas edition right now. Mark Davis filling in for Larry. Telephone number is 888-971-SAGE. Let's take a couple of calls to wrap up the hour, then we'll dive into some, everything we're talking about now will continue, political, social, cultural, and we'll add in some new things as well. We are in California. Tony, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you?
Hi.
Hey.
I just wanted to say that I understand what you're trying to say. I work with a dance studio. I make costumes, and everything we do is we try to always be age appropriate. Mm-hmm. And this has been going on for a long time. We've been fighting this a lot. Yep. But I wanted to say I saw the dance routine that was done and bits of parts of the other. I didn't watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to say I don't think they needed the camera angles. I don't think they needed to show it in the way they did. It looked like they tried to get the most horrific, feeling out of it that they could. I felt like they purposely wanted controversy to get more and more people to talk about it and make money off it. I'm sure.
I can't read minds, but you've got a really interesting point. Because there are some portions of when they're practicing there's some moments that are pretty darn uncomfortable, and that they may that they may be lingering almost lasciviously over, these pre-adolescent girls' bodies even for a few seconds. And your point is
they need a camera right up the butt.
Right, exactly right. And maybe just maybe the young lady who made the movie would say that's exactly what I intended to do. I wanted to make you uncomfortable. I wanted you to recoil at the hypersexuality of today's culture and what it lures today's 11 and 12-year-olds to do. And that's probably not an unworthy point, but I totally get your point too.
Yeah, but sadly, did you see? I didn't see any parents upset. It looked like the parents were cheering.
Oh no! When are you talking about? At the very, very end, when Ami is in the middle of the dance routine, at the very end, this is the culmination of everything they've been practicing for. She melts down and just this is wrong, and the audience is, and it is so over the top. The audience is starting to kind of turn on them and recoil. It's like, whoa! One mother turns.
I didn't see the very end.
It is wise to do so before reaching conclusions. She then runs off the stage and goes back home, makes peace with her family, and jumps rope in the front yard. The message essentially being, enough of this for me. I just want to be a kid. Now, the movie takes you on quite the ride before that, and there's some moments that are pretty darn uncomfortable to watch. And some people here are saying that those moments should never appear on a screen. If a movie about this doesn't have to portray that. That's a thoroughly worthy point. For the lady who made the film to say, you know what, if I made you uncomfortable, that was the point, because that's how fallen the world is out there. That's not a bad point either. So, wow, 2 points existing in space at the same time. It happens sometimes. Mark Davison for Larry Elder. Stick around. Much more to come in hour number 3.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
Jim in Thornton, Colorado, from Zagreb to Thornton.
Hello, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
I cannot any longer watch major sports. I grew up a Cardinal fan. Growing up in Jackson, Tennessee, I've been a Cardinal fan for 70 years. We moved to Texas when I was 13, and our youth leader at church took a group of us boys to the very first Dallas Cowboy game. I've been a Cowboy fan for 60 years. We moved to Colorado in 91. When the Rockies joined the National League, I've been a Rockies fan for 30 years. Their capitulation to this Black Lives Matter Marxist organization breaks my heart that I can no longer watch my favorite sports.
You are not alone, if that's of any comfort. They have poisoned sports, because everything the left touches it poisons. There is no exception to that on earth since the left began with Marx and Lenin. They were separate generations, but I'm giving them as the originators.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
The manufacturing industry has been eroding for decades by those seeking to circumvent America's strong labor and environmental laws. Do you support manufacturing in the USA? Do you believe in earned privilege? Check out mfggear.com. This clothing line was designed to create awareness for an industry that once flourished and made America strong. Join the Manufacture Local movement and support the mission to bring manufacturing jobs back home. Visit mfggear.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The attack in LA County, those two police officers, one a 31-year-old mother of 6. Somebody tried to paint this as random violence, a local council member. Stephanie, walking up to a police car and shooting 2 police officers in the head isn't random or accidental, is it?
This is not random. We can thank the Democrats for stoking this violence and hatred against police officers. They've been doing this for years. We've seen it escalate as of recently, thanks to this defund police movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. This video was really shocking. It made me want to cry to see somebody pull out a gun and just shoot these 2 police officers point blank. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's a lot of silence from the left on this. And then the ones who are speaking out, like Joe Biden, they're calling for gun control. What gun control measure would have stopped this criminal from shooting police officers?
Because if there were tougher gun laws in California, I'm sure he wouldn't have shot those 2 police officers in the head, right, Steph?
Correct, because the gun laws aren't already some of the strictest in the nation, of course. So Biden is just so out of touch. If you're going to speak on an issue like this, at least say something intelligent, have some compassion for the police officers who were shot. And what really bothered me, aside from all of this, is did you see this video that was going viral of a man who was live streaming the aftermath of the shooting? He had his cell phone out, and I don't know if these were his friends or there were other guys just in the background. They're laughing about what happened.
They're celebrating that 2 police officers, quote unquote, got aired out.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it, when she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, it's not an inaccurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and skepticism about a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. And we don't know when it might exist, but when it does exist, it will be safe and effective because it will have gone through rigorous testing and trials.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The whole idea of career politicians is anathema to the United States of America. From Washington himself. They understood that we're supposed, if we the people are the government, we're supposed to pick from among we the people. Joe Biden is the definition. You couldn't, if you wrote a book and you said, what is the ultimate career politician? The dude has been a senator since the early 1970s. Can you even imagine? Not in politics, politics, a senator.
Right.
And he has clearly benefited personally, and his family's benefited personally. And now he says he wants to run for president. And you think, wow, what record are you pointing to? This is not looking very good for Joe Biden.
But I've looked into Biden, and one of the things I find interesting about a career politician is how they change their mind to benefit them to stay in politics. It's like, I look back at Joe, all the racist things he said way back in the 70s, and these are public knowledge, and I'm going, and now you're over here, or whether it could be anything. I don't care if it's abortion. I don't care what it is. They change to whatever the narrative is to get them elected. And I find that just appalling. I mean, you either have a moral compass and you stick with what you believe, or you don't change. If you're changing just to keep your job, you have a different kind of agenda than what you're supposed to be. And that's why we shouldn't have career politicians.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now.
That's me. How's everybody? Hour number 3 of the Larry Elder Show. Larry is back tomorrow. In the meantime, you're hanging out with me, visually if you wish, at LarryElder.com or TownHallTV.com. And what you're looking at is me right here in Irving, Texas, in the room where I host the 660 a.m. The Answer morning show in DFW. 2 shows a day. This could be a very interesting hour. I could get punchy at 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. So let me use my moments sparingly and cling to whatever lucidity I can as we shape up for you sort of what we're talking about. We're inside 2 weeks to the debate, inside 7 weeks to the first debate, inside 7 weeks to the election. And I got a couple of questions for you about how both of those are going to go. We'll see how it goes. And I don't know when I'll be back here on the Larry Elder Show or back filling in for Dennis or Hugh or the various other shows that I'm so fortunate and blessed to be able to do. But as everybody expects Joe Biden to just collapse in a sobbing heap on the debate stage on the 29th, I look back at that Democrat convention speech he delivered. Now that was 22 minutes off a teleprompter. The debate is going to be very, very different. We need to pat him down for an earpiece. I will tell you that. I may not be kidding about that. I think he'll do okay. But the good news there is, that doesn't mean that he does indeed have the marbles to be president. It doesn't mean that he's not in cognitive decline. I think he is. But I think that to the extent that you're able to sort of gird yourself and get coffeed up and ready to go, I think he'll manage to survive on that night on the debate stage. But the good news is Trump still wins because of those candidates, only one of them will be standing up for law and order, and his name is Donald Trump. Only one of them will be standing up against the ridiculousness of the Green New Deal, and his name is Donald Trump. Only one of them will be talking about constitutionalist Supreme Court justices, and that would be Donald Trump. The other bit of Trump political fancy that we've engaged in actually comes from a tweet from Chris Hayes at MSNBC. Every once in a while, these people can be of value. Chris Hayes, who hates Trump's guts, said, "I keep telling you folks what's going to happen if Biden wins. Trump will be the instant front runner for 2024. And I thought about that. And I even saw it and raised him one. I said, you know something? Not only is Trump the front runner, is a 78-year-old candidate Donald Trump in 2024 if he loses in November. And by every stretch, all I want to do is focus on the president winning because I believe he's going to, and I will move heaven and earth to bring that about. But if that just doesn't seem to be God's will, then we got to slug through 4 years of Biden. After 4 years of Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the squad running the country, behind a figurehead Joe Biden. After 4 years of that torture, whom do you want to dig us out? Who's going to be tanned, rested, and ready? And if he's still got his marbles and his energy, and I trust he will. I mean, for all I know, Donald Trump eats Big Macs 3 meals a day. I don't even really know. And I don't see him on a treadmill. But his life is a treadmill. The guy probably gets more cardio in the space of a day than many athletes do. And I'll just flat tell you, as it is, looking for the Trump second term and then having a complete openness to see if candidates I would be enthused about, like Ted Cruz, Tim Scott, maybe Nikki Haley, and maybe some who would really have to, maybe I'd be somewhat less enthused about, like Marco Rubio and Chris Christie. But whatever, show me what you got, guys. Show me what you got. Maybe new faces like Dan Crenshaw, congressman out of Texas. Yes, the guy with the eye patch. Yeah, now you know who I'm talking about. So there are all kinds of names that I'm stoked about in 2024 to be Trump's successor. But if Trump loses and he's willing to come back in and retake the White House in 2024, I'll just really be honest with you. I don't need any of those other people to run because I'm done. My decision's made. You only have to teach me a lesson once. So, your thoughts. 888-971-SAGE. So we got that. We got the trying to solve the Cuties wars, where if somebody says they just didn't want this movie made, I totally understand. But if somebody says, you know what, I saw it and it didn't strike me as porn its own self, it struck me as a cautionary tale of how a fallen world can ensnare girls. Because guess what? I saw it and that's exactly what it is. So I'm giving everybody room to have their space at the arena of debate on this and not beat each other up, because I don't think those views are necessarily mutually exclusive. I don't know. And I'll tell you, and you know what? One positive has already come out, because the fact that I saw it means I'm talking about it. And the fact that I'm talking about it took me to a couple of calls. There's the gentleman who called and said, yeah, my granddaughters are in a dance class and they do things that are almost like that. Get them out of that dance class. If you've got your 7-year-old doing the shimmy, if you've got your 11 or 12-year-olds, the age of the girls in the plot, one actress is 12, the others are 14, but still, right? But still, and they're doing things that remotely approach this level of provocative. And by the way, this ain't no school in the Cuties movie. They're just doing this of their own accord. There's no supervision, no tutelage, no stewardship, not good enough parenting, and the school doesn't care. And therein lies the danger, and therein lies the point. This is what you get in this over-sexualized, internet crazy, click crazy culture when your pre-adolescent girls don't have any guidance. And listen, there are kids who do have guidance in America. And the parents are, but it's not attentive enough. It's not attentive enough. And if you're not attentive enough, the world portrayed in that movie, the world will come get your daughter. And that's the message. We are in Carmichael, California. Leroy, Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you?
Oh, for love of God, that's you.
Hi, how are you?
You know what? I like the fact that you started the show with prayer.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And your logic to decide something that is bad, you have to see it.
Not necessarily.
I read stuff about when ISIS was going wrong, they burned people. I don't want to see that.
What an interesting...
When they lined up people on the ocean and cut their necks. I don't want to see that.
Understand.
And you know what? I'm half Jewish. I have never been able to watch Schindler's List.
I totally understand. Totally understand.
Because I know what happened.
True, but let's go to something as honorable as Schindler's List. You're totally entitled to that view. I get it, and I would never peel you away from that. It's a principled view. But you know what? I'm glad it was made. And by the way, I'm not making a Schindler's List Cuties comparison, not by a million stretches. But I'm glad it was made.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I know. No, you're right. You don't need a movie to tell you or show you that something is wrong. You're totally right. But you know what those movies do? And Cuties is trying to elbow its way onto this list, and many of you don't want to put it there, and that's totally okay. But from Schindler's List to any movie that let's go to some movies conservatives will love. Unplanned, the Abby Johnson story about her experience in an abortion clinic. That's some grisly, terrible stuff in there, and I love the fact that that movie was made. And I'm not making a parallel with Cuties at all. Every film exists as its own work of art. But I guess the point is, I don't need to see Unplanned to know about the evils of abortion. I don't need to see One Nation Under God to know that that God is not welcome in classrooms across America. There are all kinds of films that are made about problems, about phenomena, and some movies I might like, I might not, I might admire them, I might not. No, I don't need them. But if they exist, and I'm going a million miles beyond Cuties to all kinds of films that the gentleman was talking about, there is value in the reminder of having a few million people see a movie and go, damn, that is out there. That did happen. There are people who do that. This is a danger. This is a thing. Because it's that notion of awareness. And maybe it guides you in a certain part of your life to have some type of activism or improve your life in some way, raise your kids a little better. Who knows? Mark Davison for Larry. Stick around.
On the Dennis Prager Show.
On May 4th, Biden said coronavirus is an incredible opportunity to fundamentally transform the country. May 11th, Biden said America needs revolutionary institutional changes. June 2, Biden calls for America to deal with systemic racism. July 4, Biden promises to transform America and rip the roots of systemic racism out of this country. July 9th, Biden vows, quote, an end to the era of shareholder capitalism. And yet all these big corps are going to vote for him. July 13th, Biden promises systemic and institutional changes. July 28th, Biden promises to be one of the most progressive presidents in U.S. history. The Washington Post noted the change in Biden in June, noting that Biden had once promised nothing would fundamentally change, and said the country was looking for results, not a revolution, but had since completely changed his tune. And they let him get away with not talking to the press, not having press conferences. And when on the rare occasions he talks to the press, they're not even questions. They are, please tell us how wonderful you are and how bad Donald Trump is. It is amazing how people think they're moral creatures because they loathe the president. This is like the defining element now. I don't think I'm moral because I support the president. I support the president because I see clearly what the alternatives are and how much good he has done. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Now Bahrain has made peace with Israel.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
A 35-year-old Henderson County, North Carolina sheriff's deputy named Ryan Hendricks was fatally shot by a suspect. The Henderson County Sheriff's Department issued a press release saying, quote, early this morning while the world slept, Ryan responded to assist a family needing help when they became innocent victims of a violent encounter. We all know the tragic outcome, but Ryan refuses to let the story end there. Even in passing, Ryan was also an organ donor. He will continue to help strangers for a lifetime, even after making the ultimate sacrifice. Ryan's family wants everyone to know that Ryan was doing the job he was born to do, and he died doing the job he loved. He was a Marine. served his country in the United States Marine Corps, served his country as a Henderson County Sheriff's deputy, 2 little children, was about to get married. Deputy Ryan Hendricks. Now, I get we should say Breonna Taylor's name. I get we should say George Floyd's name. I want to say George Floyd's name. I want to say the names of those who died. Am I some kind of a horrific, bigoted monster for saying that we should say Ryan Hendricks' name? Say his name. Say the name of law enforcement that are trying to help a community and they're being ambushed.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is America in the 2020 year of our Lord. Anti-police protesters appeared.
Digging deep into the Gladys Knight and the Pips catalog. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, Sean. Mark Davis in for Larry Elder. We got 39 minutes of show left. Let's see what let's make of it here at 888-971-SAGE. This is wild. We're in with a point that just kind of went right by my head. Let's go to Garland, Texas. And Mark, that is you. Welcome. How are you doing, sir? Welcome to the Larry Elder Show.
Doing great, Mark. So on Trump running again, you don't think there's a broker deal between Trump and Pence that rain or shine, win or lose, Pence gets the next shot?
Oh, no. Okay, and then the first thing, in seeing your call on the screen about Pence, it occurs to me that I looked forward to 2024 and made a list of everybody I was excited about seeing run to be Trump's successor, and I feel kind of bad. I didn't even mention him. I love Mike Pence, and he might be, there's a little bit of distance to go, but after Cheney, he might be my favorite vice president ever. That is his sense of loyalty and service and value. I love Mike Pence as vice president. I do not know. I'm not saying I'm not interested. I don't know how interested I am compared to, let's say Trump has 2 magnificent terms. It's time for everything to open. And you got Ted Cruz, and you've got Tim Scott, and you've got fresh new names like Dan Crenshaw. You've got, I just want to see what everybody brings. Now, your questions seem to be about a brokered deal. First of all, those are almost impossible to actually do. Voters have to weigh in. But what is your suspicion? What's your thought there?
Well, no, the deal is Trump says I'm not going to run again, and if Pence come on the ticket and brings him Indiana, and I don't. When was Biden selected as to be coordinated to run for president now after Hillary Clinton? When do you think that was brokered?
Well, Joe Biden, you seem to have a kind of a brokerage obsession. People decide to run. They decide. Joe Biden decided to run. He's been in government for half a century, been trying to be president forever. Might as well tee it up. So he decided to run. Nobody brokered anything. He decided to run
when Hillary ran.
I beg pardon? Why didn't he run? Why didn't he run? Because, like a lot of people did, they figured Hillary would consume all the oxygen, and she was probably the presumptive nominee, which wound up being true.
I don't believe for a second that the poll positions were not brokered at the 2008 Democrat convention.
Well, you can't prove a negative, but there's just no reason to necessarily believe. What you're saying is not impossible. Anything's possible. But Hillary was, my dog saw a Hillary campaign running, especially after it was Hillary and Obama, in 2008 down to the finish line. So it's not like that's a big mystery. Nobody had to broker anything. Hillary wants to be president worse than anything in her life. And this last opportunity was her last best shot. So there's no great mystery there.
Well, the mystery is why everybody stepped aside. The mystery, that's the mystery.
Okay, okay. What in 2016? You mean in 2016 when she was running?
Yeah, I think in 2008 at the convention when she stepped aside, when she claimed the Secretary of State job from senator, that was all. That's all done at the
say
at the
good. Say it, brokered.
I think Trump is the first time we've had a party. I think Trump is the first time that the American people truly picked, without influence, a presidential candidate.
Well, the American people always pick, but it sounds like your point is in terms of who we get to choose from. Are there deals made of who runs? Distinctly possible. But as far but when some things are just McCain, organic. Say again. I'm sorry.
Dole, McCain. This is the elder statesman.
I know, but that's what we've done forever. But people ran against Bob Dole. People ran against John McCain. People ran against Hillary. I mean, it's not going to be wide open every time. And I think we've learned that there can be a better way. And God bless Bob Dole. Bob Dole is a wonderful man and not a bad candidate. But it's like let's hand the baton to the next deserving guy. Trump has shown us another way. It's like, I tell you what, how about people from we had 17 people running, 16 alongside Trump. And it was wide open. There were a lot of choices, and he won. And maybe if that shows the Democrat and Republican parties that a wide open race featuring all kinds of people with all kinds of experience is a good thing, then I tend to think it's a good thing too.
Will the Democrats ever get rid of their superdelegates?
If they'll get rid of them when they feel like they're no longer well served by them. But that might be an oversimplified scenario on my part, because I'll tell you who is well served by them is Democrat. Here you go, Democrat Party brokers. I'm giving brokerage right back to you, and that's where it does come in. The Democrat Party faithful, party power brokers, the party power structure, Democrat elites love the superdelegates. It gives them an opportunity to put their thumb on the scale, and people in power really love doing that, and it's hard to get them to disabuse themselves of that habit. We're in Louisville. James, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry Elder. How are you?
Hey, Mark. Glad to talk to you again.
My pleasure.
I just wanted to run down that rabbit hole with Trump. You know, if the heavens were to part for Joe, or rather, you know, the down below part, you know, with the guy with the fork and the pointy ears and the tail. If that was the part and Joe got in there and all his minions came with him, the only thing that would save our country, I believe, would be keeping the Senate. Because if they got a hold of the Senate and get the presidency, then they would more than likely keep the House. But if they got a hold of the Senate for 4 years, you got Puerto Rico coming in with 2 senators and D.C. coming in with 2 senators. RGB on January 21st would retire of next year. She would retire. And then, you know, Katie barred the door. They would pack the court like FDR wanted to do back in the mid-30s. Thank God that didn't happen. You know, all hell would break loose. And they would do some damn near irreversible damage to this country for a long time. However, boy, would it be a sideshow with Trump. He would probably, you know, if it were finalized at whatever point in time, they count all the votes that, you know, people got in their trunk of their cars, like Minnesota, and you know, into December, and it finally gets finalized. Oh, Joe wins.
Yep.
Well, you know, the very next day, he's going to be saying, okay, I'm starting my committee in 2024.
Exactly right.
Oh,
and in 30 seconds, what would your feeling be about that? Would you have the feeling that if I've got to endure 4 years of hell with Joe Biden, I'm ready for Trump 2024 because he's the only person that can help us out of that hole?
I would find me a gig job that I could work and just be able to keep my head above water just good enough, and I would devote my life.
There you go. That's what Chris Hayes was talking about in his tweet, is look out, because if God help us, Biden wins, God help us, Trump 2024 campaign begins the following day. Mark Davis and for Larry. Be right back.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Hear what Fauci said to MSNBC over the weekend? Listen to this.
And I said what I've been saying all along, that I believe that we will have a vaccine that will be available by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But by the time you mobilize the distribution of the vaccinations and you get the majority or more of the population vaccinated and protected, that's likely not going to happen till the mid or end of 2021. So in direct response to that person's question, I said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality, which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going to be well into 2021, maybe even towards the end of 2021.
Wow. Now, I debated internally whether to play that clip or not, because I know how despondent, how depressed, how much despair Fauci is engendering with that comment. I thought about a buddy of mine last night who refused to watch the Dallas Cowboys play football. And I admit I watched some NFL yesterday because I, like you, want some sliver of normal. It's not normal to see players take a knee during the national anthem. And for me, a personal decision was I'm not going to let them prevent me from having a little bit of entertainment in that venue. Friend of mine, Mark Davis in Dallas, one knee, I'm out. He's a big Cowboys fan.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Then people know you from every now and again. I see you on these TV commercials. Are you still doing those?
Absolutely.
You crack me up. But we both involved in a film called Trump 2024. It's really a documentary, and there's all kinds of people involved in it. I should say to folks, if you go to salemnow.com and use the code Eric, you get a discount, salemnow.com. But why did you get involved in this documentary, Mike Lindell, Trump 2024?
Well, when I first met him, I met him in the summer of 2016 in a private half-hour meeting. He invited me out to talk with him about, my pillow being made in the USA. But all these things he talked about, I'm going, there are a couple of things people need to know about our president. The gift he has of being so pragmatic and problem solution like a businessman, but knowing what it's going to manifest to. What is it, just because you solve the problem and have the solution, you better know what's it going to manifest to in our daily lives. And that's a gift that he has. And that's having a businessman run it. He took the Republican Party, and I believe now has turned it into the common sense party. That's not the party it was either. He took politics and just put it all in a thing and smashed it around and said, okay, here's the way we should do things for the people. This is for the people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Have you ever seen a story of corruption that just gives as much as this story, John?
No, and you know what? We don't have half of it yet. That's what's so scary about what we're learning. And I think we ought to bring everybody back to the beginning of impeachment.
Sounds like a plan. We're in the home stretch here of the Wednesday Larry Elder Show. Mark Davis filling in. Glad to have you here. 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-SAGE. We are in Asheville, North Carolina. Jeremy, hey. Mark Davison for Larry. Good Wednesday to you. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, great to talk to you. I was calling in about basically talking about the debate coming up.
Yes, inside 2 weeks.
I cannot wait to see it. because I think it's probably, to me, this is probably the most important presidential election of my lifetime. I'm 42. But it could be one of the most important presidential elections of our history, because it could go our country could totally go off track, or we could keep heading in the right direction.
No doubt. No doubt. So what do you, thinking ahead, how do you think, we are certainly familiar with Trump. We've seen sort of what we've seen from Vice President Biden. How do you think the debate's going to go?
First, I don't have anything against Biden. I don't like what he wants to do. I'll put it that way. But I know Trump has a way of getting under people's skin. Even if Biden's on his game that night, which I don't know if he will be, but even if he is, I think Trump's going to get him mad. And once he gets mad, he's going to go way off topic, and he's going to start making some mistakes.
You know something?
That's what it's really going to be.
You've identified, Jeremy, thank you. This gentleman has identified something that may be a more likely Biden problem than him blowing a synapse and, forgetting what town he's in or forgetting his name, or becoming babblingly incoherent or passing out cold. I don't think any of those things are going to happen. What Jeremy just described may be the greatest likelihood of all, and that is that Trump's just Trump and comes at him with something, and Joe just doesn't like it and loses composure. Now, when somebody loses composure and has all of their faculties about them, maybe they offer up a retort that is just a little too sharp, or they say something that's a little ill-advised. Joe may roll out with dog-faced pony soldier or who knows. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. In Emeryville, California, Nancy, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you? Good Wednesday to you.
Hi, Mark. I'm sitting out here watching the bay in Emeryville, California. It's beautiful, but there's still a little cloudiness because of the ash. Okay, I was just telling somebody that I was talking to a minute ago that I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Dallas about as long as I've lived out here in California. And there's something that I wanted to say. They keep talking about Joe and Trump. I can tell you from experience that he's probably going to have, if he needs them, he's probably going to be getting drugs that will sharpen his mind, definitely, because I know they're out there. And
where can I get access to them? Kidding. It's a joke. I apologize. What? But in all seriousness, what are there? What is the pharmaceutical possibility for something to actually, quote, sharpen one's mind? And I know a bunch of supplements say they'll do them.
You go through any psychiatric hospital, and they're not going to tell you about it, but it's there. Okay.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, is that so? It's
now,
maybe. Okay, go keep going. You're on a roll.
Back to the movies that they were talking about. We have a motion picture rating system here in the United States that works pretty well for most of the time, and most of these movies, they'll tell you why they rated them that way. Now, I picked up movies in the library unrated. And I want to warn all of the parents out there that they need to watch these movies before their children ever do. And when their children, teens and preteens, if that's on their radar and somebody says, oh, you shouldn't see it, believe me, they're going to try to get it.
The forbidden fruit syndrome. It always has been and always will be. And that's what makes good parenting the most precious of commodities. Nancy, thank you. I appreciate it very, very much. And whether it's Cuties or 100 other movies that show kids doing bad things and unfortunate things, it's just a reminder that if you do choose to consume this thing, and you certainly don't have to, you just find yourself yelling at the school, yelling at the parents. Where are you? Where are you in this fallen world to protect your 11, 12-year-old girls from the clutches of this fallen world? Be right back.
The manufacturing industry has been eroding for decades by those seeking to circumvent America's strong labor and environmental laws. Do you support manufacturing in the USA? Do you believe in earned privilege? Check out mfggear.com. This clothing line was designed to create awareness for an industry that once flourished and made America strong. Join the Manufacture Local movement and support the mission to bring manufacturing jobs back home. Visit mfggear.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The attack in LA County, those two police officers, one a 31-year-old mother of 6. Somebody tried to paint this as random violence, a local council member. Stephanie, walking up to a police car and shooting 2 police officers in the head isn't random or accidental, is it?
This is not random. We can thank the Democrats for stoking this violence and hatred against police officers. They've been doing this for years. We've seen it escalate as of recently, thanks to this defund police movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. This video was really shocking. It made me want to cry to see somebody pull out a gun and just shoot these 2 police officers point blank. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's a lot of silence from the left on this. And then the ones who are speaking out, like Joe Biden, they're calling for gun control. What gun control measure would have stopped this criminal from shooting police officers?
Because if there were tougher gun laws in California, I'm sure he wouldn't have shot those 2 police officers in the head. Right, Steph?
Correct, because the gun laws aren't already some of the strictest in the nation, of course. So Biden is just so out of touch. If you're going to speak on an issue like this, at least say something intelligent, have some compassion for the police officers who were shot. And what really bothered me, aside from all of this, is did you see this video that was going viral of a man who was live streaming the aftermath of the shooting? He had his cell phone out, and I don't know if these were his friends or there were other guys just in the background. They're laughing about what happened.
They're celebrating that 2 police officers, quote unquote, got aired out.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it, when she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, it's not an inaccurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and skepticism about a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. And we don't know when it might exist, but
it is Wednesday, sort of the closing quarter hour here. Glad to be with you. Mark Davis in for Larry from the studios of 660 AM, The Answer, Dallas, Fort Worth. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis. We can hang out together anytime you like in that realm. And it's always nice to be here with you in this venue. Appreciate it. Let's get back to some of your calls here, see what's going on in your life, on your mind, etc., etc. We are in, well, hey, this is cool. Let's head up to the last frontier. We're in Alaska. Lori, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I wanted to comment. We just ended our Netflix account, and it's because of Cuties. Mm-hmm. And to me, the movies you mentioned were all acted out, whereas this is real preteens. And the analogy a friend of mine said is as if you did a movie talking about animal cruelty and you had 650 animals, that you abused because they had a bunch of girls come in to try out for the movie. And it just wouldn't be worth it.
This is an interesting point. It's like we're going to make a movie about how terrible it is to club baby seals, and what we're going to do is we're going to go get baby seals, we're going to club them on camera to show you how terrible it is. That may not be exact apples and apples, because that is what acting is. It's where you portray somebody other than yourself, but it doesn't mean you don't still have a point. And that's what some of the movie's objectors say, is they can say, look, you can talk about it as a public service announcement, a cautionary tale, but there's no getting past the fact that you had to make underage actresses, girls who are 12, 14, do this in order to engage in those portrayals. And even that should not have been done.
Right.
That's not an unfair point. I will tell you the list of movies for which here's what's funny. There are probably 100 movies that I could find in an hour that did something similar, made somebody underage do something in order to portray something. I think about this all the time. I think about when there's a baby crying because, and this is a different thing. There's a baby crying over in the corner because two characters are fighting it out. It's like, they had to make that baby cry to do that. I know that's not apples and apples either, and that's what acting is, and that's what the portrayal is. But the people who say, you know what, however lofty their purpose, however, whatever their intent was, it meant having girls do this, and that's a deal breaker for many, and that's not an unprincipled view at all. We're in Stanhope, New Jersey. Andrew, hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
Very well, and I think it's just the left that got caught, and they're trying to talk their way out of it and say, no, we're righteous. We're trying to draw attention to it. That's like if you robbed someone's house and you say, no, I'm returning the stuff. I didn't rob you.
That really doesn't fly. The lady who made the film, a woman who is of French Senegalese descent, made the character in this Muslim family and the pushback, et cetera, et cetera. She had a point she wanted to make. It's not like I made some porn and I've been discovered as a porn purveyor. I better dream up some noble intent. No, that was her intent. Doesn't mean you have to accept it. Doesn't mean anybody has to accept it. But that's what she was trying to do.
But I wanted to talk about the town hall, which I watched. I didn't actually see the film. I just saw clips, so I shouldn't comment.
No. For the 100th time, if somebody just believes that it's a movie about girls behaving really inappropriately, even if the ultimate lesson is don't do that, and you have to have actresses do that to do that, and they didn't want that, that's a completely principled view someone can hold without even seeing the movie. But anyway, what about the town hall last night with Trump on ABC?
Well, like Larry always points out, all the accomplishments that Trump has done for the black community, with the investment in the inner city for business loans, funding black colleges, Second Chance Act, which puts black fathers back in the homes, and we know how important that is. So they have a man who was on, a black man, said, no, Make America Great Again is wrong, because, again, even under Obama, it was never great. All the black people who live in the ghetto.
He wanted to be reminded of when America was ever great, like for poor blacks in a ghetto, maybe in some past time before our current racial enlightenment. It's not a bad question, but there's also a really good answer, and that is that even through our sins of slavery, our sins of Jim Crow, our march toward racial equality and law, even during all of that, where else would you rather be? You still had freedoms you don't have elsewhere. America offered opportunity you can't find elsewhere. So, that's where we are.
And to say what he said, that black people live in a ghetto, if we said that, it would be considered racist. And that's not true. At least half do not live in the inner city.
Well, he didn't.
There's been a black...
Right. Well, the gentleman didn't say that all black people live in ghettos, but that was the example.
That's the way he was saying it, that we, meaning blacks, we all live in poverty, but that's certainly not true.
Exactly. He didn't say. Okay, I love you, but he did not say that. He did not say we all live in poverty. It was an example that he gave. It was during his call and his question and many more that I did find myself questioning ABC's notion of undecided voters. Was there a supporter or two in there? Yeah, but I think a lot of these people were very decided voters, welcomed into that studio so that they could give the president hell on national TV. The good news is he tends to take that pretty well. We are in Louisville. Layton, hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
I'm fine, Mark. Thank you so much. Tremendous admirer of you. I really respect the courage of your convictions, whether
you're very kind.
The expression of your faith in praying, or especially your patriotism. Caught you on the Mike Gallagher show this morning. I'm with you, brother. One knee's enough for me.
That's it. One knee goes down, my TV goes off.
From the trenches of World War I to the jungles of Vietnam, New Guinea, my dad's brother who died in the Ardennes forest, whose name I proudly bear. It's very much in my DNA for that flag. But you made a very important point. It's not Colin Kaepernick. It's the owners. Like you mentioned, Jerry Jones. All those guys had to do is say, you got the right to do that, but guess what? Not on my watch.
Exactly right. And you've made it. Layton, thank you so much, because this has never been about rights. It's not about whether someone has the right to kneel. Sure you do. If the employer doesn't want you to, there'll be a consequence, and the employer needs to make clear that there may be observances we'll have, things we'll do, exercises we'll engage in, but not during the anthem. Not during the anthem. Mark Davison for Larry, right back. All righty, and then we will wrap this thing up.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
But you even made commercials for the president recently. Talk about that.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. And what we did, I had an idea. I said, I wanted to bring all these Democrats in that were flipping, okay? Some of them lifelong Democrats, and I didn't want to meet them ahead of time. I wanted to be very organic, like my pillow ads are, and I wanted to be the host and ask them, well, why are you flipping? And it was so powerful when these come out. Some of the reasons, one of the common things that you just mentioned before was that we had talked about. So many of them said, what I thought the Democratic Party was, where they always made promises for family values and to help people. I started looking back and going, it never came to fruition after they got elected. But with this great president, he did what the Democrats said they were going to do. And a lot of them said, I don't even, maybe they had something they didn't like the president for something or other, but they're going, you know what? I like what he's done. And therefore, I'm switching. I'm voting. One guy, he had never voted Republican in his life. And one of his reason was, my party, that ship sailed. It's no longer that party.
That ship sailed 1,000 years ago. We are now dealing with a party that is absolutely sold out to socialist Bernie and others. I mean, can you imagine that Joe Biden, who some people would think of as a centrist, which is why they put him forward, he is partnering with Beto O'Rourke on guns, with AOC on the Green New Deal.
Right. Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
Jim in Thornton, Colorado, from Zagreb to Thornton.
Hello, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
I cannot any longer watch major sports. I grew up a Cardinal fan. Growing up in Jackson, Tennessee, I've been a Cardinal fan for 70 years. We moved to Texas when I was 13, and our youth leader at church took a group of us boys to the very first Dallas Cowboy game. I've been a Cowboy fan for 60 years. We moved to Colorado in 91. When the Rockies got in the National League, I've been a Rockies fan for 30 years. Their capitulation to this Black Lives Matter Marxist organization, breaks my heart that I can no longer watch my favorite sports.
You are not alone, if that's of any comfort. They have poisoned sports because everything the left
and to its final minutes. Larry will be back with you tomorrow. Mark Davis filling in from 6:60 a.m. The Answer in Dallas, Fort Worth. So a couple of things to package and leave you with as you head off to whatever the rest of your day contains. I hope it is filled with blessings and filled with good things. It is always a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Christian, for just the opportunity to hang out with you guys. It's a pleasure to sort of do the adjunct role here. It's on the show that I host every morning on 6:60 a.m. The Answer. If you ever want to do, catch, podcasts of what we've been messing around with here on the local show, go to 660amtheanswer.com, go to podcast. There's my happy face. And you can, for your listening and dancing pleasure, there's all the local shows I do. And that's about as much fun as this is. So it's just this, only more of it, and talking to people on a variety of different issues. We went the whole show today, and I kind of made a bunch of notes of stuff we might cover. And there's one thing we did not get to, so I got to do it in about 30 seconds. So I will. This Mideast peace deal struck this week is something for the ages. To have Israel in a bond with Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, that is two more countries added to a list that contained only two, Egypt and Jordan. Actual relationship, diplomatic, economic, and This is the kind of listen. I'm 62 years old. My whole life has been set. The 6-Day War was when I was about 10 years old, and then through the era of Yasser Arafat, and then various other eras of phony peace deals, all designed to make a bunch of people, including some American presidents, look better and just look good. I mean, Sadat and Begin, that was the real deal. The Oslo Accords, not so much. This is the real deal. This is the path toward a lasting, meaningful, solid Mideast peace. And the thing that is the genius of it, the Trump genius, the Jared Kushner genius. And sometimes I don't know what to think of that young man, but I love him this week. And moving forward, I'll give him unyielding credit for helping engineer this. And I think it was just a different way of looking at things. All the elites and the ivory tower, tut-tut, scholarly folks say everything has to go through the lens of the Palestinians. You got to resolve this Palestinian thing first, and then the rest of the Arab world. Guess what? No, that's 180 degrees wrong. Because the Palestinian people, I think they want to coexist peacefully with Israel. Palestinian leadership is soaked with the blood of terror, and will be until there's change in leadership. So we found a way to sort of do an end run around the whole Palestinian thing, and the Palestinians responded today by launching rockets into southern Israel. This is an amazing moment of peace, and one of the best things the Trump administration has done. Larry, back with you tomorrow. I'm Mark Davis. God bless our country, our troops, our families, our first responders, our flag, our anthem, all the other things we love, and God bless all of y'all. I'll see you next time the phone rings. Take care. Larry's back tomorrow. I'm Mark Davis. Have a great rest of your day.